Hey there, welcome in. Go ahead and get comfortable because you don't need to do anything right now except be here. Fluff up your pillow, pull the blanket up to wherever feels just right, and let your shoulders drop away from your ears. That's it. There's nowhere you have to be tonight. Nothing you have to fix or solve or remember. For the next little while, the only job you have is to rest, and I'll take care of the rest. Tonight, we're going to drift out past the ceiling, past the rooftops, past the clouds, and the thin blue edge of the sky, all the way out into the quiet dark of the galaxy. And I do mean quiet. Space is the most peaceful place you could ever imagine. There's no traffic out there, no phones buzzing, no neighbor's dog, no dishes in the sink, no little voice in the back of your head reminding you about tomorrow. Just soft, endless stillness and a scattering of gentle lights that have been glowing patiently for longer than you can really picture. And that's exactly where we're headed, together, nice and slow. Before we go any further though, let me say a quiet thank you for being here. If these calm little journeys help you unwind and slip off to sleep, it would mean the world if you tap that like button and subscribe. You don't have to do it this second, honestly. Do it whenever your eyes are still open enough. It's a small thing, but it helps me keep doing what I love, which is helping folks like you drift off, one sleepy soul at a time. That's the whole reason I'm here, whispering into the dark while you settle in. So let's begin the way you'd begin a long, slow walk on a warm evening. No rush. Let's just get a feel for where we are. You know, the word galaxy comes from an old idea. Long ago, people looked up at that faint, milky band of light stretched across the night sky, and they thought it looked like spilled milk. That soft smear you can sometimes see on a really dark night, far from any town, is the flat disk of our own galaxy seen from the inside. We call it the Milky Way, and that's a name that's been passed down for thousands of years, from one generation of stargazers to the next. Isn't that a lovely thought? That the same soft glow you might see tonight is the very same glow your great-great-grandparents saw, and theirs before them, all the way back into the deep past. Now, here's something gentle to sink into. When you look up at the Milky Way, you're not looking at something outside of you. You're inside it. You live in it. Our little planet, our sun, everything you've ever known. It's all tucked away in one quiet corner of this enormous spinning wheel of stars. Picture a slow silver carousel, so vast that it takes an unimaginably long time to turn, even once. That's home. You're riding on it right now, and you can't feel a thing, because the motion is so smooth and so gentle. There are no bumps in space, just a long, patient glide through the dark. And how big is this home of ours? Well, let's take it slowly, because the numbers out here are the soft, sleepy kind. Our galaxy is somewhere around 100,000 light years across. A light year is just the distance that light travels in a single year. And light is the fastest thing there is. It moves at about 300,000 kilometers every second. And still, even at that dizzying speed, it would take a beam of light 100,000 years to cross from one side of our galaxy to the other. Let that just wash over you for a moment. 100,000 years for the fastest thing in existence, just to get from one edge to the far edge. Out here, everything moves at the pace of a slow, deep breath. And in all that space, there are stars. so many stars. Our galaxy holds somewhere between 100 billion and 400 billion of them. Nobody knows the exact count, and honestly, that's part of the piece of it. Some things are simply too vast to tally up, and they don't need to be. Each one of those stars is a sun in its own right. Some are small and cool, glowing a soft ember red, barely whispering their light into the dark. Others are enormous and blue-white and blazing. And scattered among them, circling quietly, are more planets than there are grains of sand on every beach on Earth. Just imagine that. Every beach, every desert, every sandbox, every dune, all the sand there is. And still, there are more worlds than that, turning gently around distant stars. Let that settle in as you breathe. You don't have to do anything with it. Just let it be a soft, spacious feeling in your mind, like standing in a big, empty field at night with all that room around you. Here's another one to rest on. Our sun, that bright, familiar star that warms your face on a good afternoon. It isn't sitting still, it's traveling. Our whole solar system is drifting through the galaxy at an astonishing pace. Something like 230 kilometers every second. And yet, because everything nearby is moving along with us, it feels perfectly calm. It's a bit like being on a smooth train at night, when you can't quite tell if you're moving or the world outside is sliding past. The sun carries us in a great, slow loop around the center of the galaxy. And one single trip around, one galactic year, takes somewhere near 230 million years. The last time our sun was in the spot it's in tonight, dinosaurs hadn't even shown up yet. Isn't that a soothing thought? Some journeys are so long and so unhurried that whole ages of the world come and go before a single lap is done. There's no rushing a thing like that. There's no rushing anything out here. Take a slow breath in through your nose and let it go, soft and easy. Good. Now let's drift toward the middle of it all, right at the heart of our galaxy, far, far away from us. There's a place where the stars gather thick and close, like a warm crowd of candles, and nestled at the very center is something with a wonderfully soft-sounding name. Astronomers call it Sagittarius A star. It's a supermassive black hole, and I know the word black hole can sound dramatic, but out here, from where we lie tonight, it's really just a quiet, distant anchor. It's the still point that the whole galaxy turns around, like the calm center of a slowly spinning top. It's tremendously heavy, something like 4 million times the mass of our sun, all gathered into one deep, dark stillness. And it's so far away that it can't touch us at all. It just sits there in the middle of the great wheel, keeping everything turning in its slow, patient dance, and has done so for billions of years. That's the thing about the galaxy that I find so calming. Everything out there is enormous, and everything out there is slow, and everything out there has been carrying on peacefully for longer than we can really hold in our minds. It doesn't hurry. It doesn't worry. It just is. And tonight, for these few minutes, you get to be a little more like the galaxy. Unhurried, at ease, simply here. Let's slow down even more now. Feel the weight of your body against the bed. Feel how the mattress holds you, how the pillow cradles your head. You don't have to hold yourself up. You're being held, just like our little planet is held, gently in the arm of a great spiral of stars, never falling, never rushing, just carried along. And speaking of arms, here's a soft picture for you. Our galaxy is shaped like a pinwheel, with long curving arms made of stars and glowing gas that spiral out from the center. These arms have names, gentle ones. There's the Perseus arm, the Sagittarius arm, and our own little neighborhood sits in a smaller stretch called the Orion Arm, sometimes called the Orion Spur, because it's a bit like a quiet side street branching off a bigger road. We're not right downtown, in the bright, busy heart of the galaxy. We're out in the peaceful suburbs, in a calm, dim, spacious part of the sky, where the stars are spread nice and far apart. And honestly, that suits me just fine tonight. A quiet spot on a quiet street, in a quiet corner of a slowly turning wheel. That's a good place to fall asleep. Now here's a lovely one to hold as you sink deeper into the pillow. The light from many of the stars you can see with your own eyes left them long, long ago. When you gaze up at a star, you're not really seeing it as it is right now. You're seeing a soft postcard from its past, a little bit of light that set off on its journey years or centuries or even thousands of years ago, traveling all that way through the dark, just to arrive gently at your eye tonight. Some of those stars have changed since then. A few may not even be there anymore. And yet their light keeps coming, faithful and calm, like a letter that takes ages to arrive, but always gets there in the end. Every night, sky is a little bit of history, glowing softly overhead. There's something so peaceful about that. The universe is patient. It takes its time, and the light always finds its way home. Breathe in, slow and deep, and breathe out, letting your whole body grow just a little heavier. There you go. Let me tell you where all of this came from, because even the beginning of the galaxy is a soft story. A very long time ago, there was no Milky Way at all, just great, drifting clouds of gas floating in the young universe, cool and dark and slow. And ever so gradually, gravity, that gentle, invisible pull, began to draw those clouds together. No noise, no hurry, just a slow gathering over hundreds of millions of years. The way mist collects quietly in a valley before dawn. Little by little, those clouds clumped and settled and began to spin, and the first stars flickered to life inside them, one by one, like tiny lamps being lit in the windows of a sleeping town. And that's how our galaxy was born. Not in a rush, but in a long, patient coming together that's still going on, even now, even tonight, while you rest. So as you lie here, know that you are part of something that has been unfolding slowly and beautifully for billions of years. The very atoms in your body, the calcium in your bones, the iron in your blood, all of it was forged long ago in the hearts of ancient stars, then scattered gently across space when those stars breathed their last, and gathered up again to become worlds and oceans, and eventually you. You're made of star stuff, softly recycled, quietly ancient. When you look up at the galaxy in a very real way, you're looking at where you came from. And there's a deep comfort in that. You belong out there. You always have. We've got a long, gentle journey ahead of us tonight, drifting from star to star, past the soft glow of distant nebulas and the slow turning of far-off worlds. And there's no need to stay awake for all of it. In fact, if you drift off in the middle of one of these quiet little facts, that's not missing out. That's the whole point. That's exactly what we came here to do. My voice will just keep going, soft and low, like a warm current carrying you further and further from the shore of the waking day. So for now, just keep breathing slow. Keep letting go. Feel yourself getting heavier and warmer and calmer with each breath. The galaxy has waited billions of years, and it's in no hurry at all. There's all the time in the world, and little by little, one soft fact after another, we'll drift off together, out among the quiet stars, exactly the way we're meant to. One sleepy soul at a time. Let's drift a little further now, out past the arm of the galaxy we call home. You know, our own little neighborhood in the Milky Way even has a name. Astronomers call it the Orion Arm, or sometimes the Orion Spur. And it's a gentle, quiet stretch of stars tucked between two much larger arms. Think of it like a peaceful side street on the edge of a great sleeping city. We're not in the crowded downtown, where the stars press close and bright. We're out here in the calm suburbs, where things are spread thin and soft, and the nights are long and dark and lovely. And honestly, that's a good place to be. Out here, the space between stars is so wide, so hushed, that if our sun had a next-door neighbor, that neighbor would still be trillions of kilometers away. Whole oceans of quiet between one warm light and the next. Speaking of our nearest neighbor, let me tell you about it because it's a soft little thought to hold on to. The closest star to our own sun is part of a small family called Alpha Centauri, and the nearest member of that family has a name that sounds like a lullaby all on its own. Proxima Centauri. Proxima, meaning nearest. It's a small, cool, red star, dimmer than our sun, glowing a gentle rose color out there in the dark. And even though it's the closest star we have, its light still takes a little over 4 years to reach us. Just picture that. If Proxima flickered tonight, you wouldn't see the change until you were 4 years older. 4 birthdays from now. The galaxy measures its distances in patience, always in patience. Breathe in slowly and let it go. Here's something soft to rest your mind on. When you picture stars, you probably imagine them alone, each one hanging by itself in the dark, the way our sun seems to. But the truth is gentler and more crowded than that. Most stars in the galaxy aren't lonely at all. They come in pairs, circling each other slowly, held close by gravity for billions of years. 2 suns, turning around a shared center, like a couple swaying slowly to music only they can hear. Some come in 3s or 4s, whole little families of stars drifting together through space. Our sun is one of the quiet ones, traveling alone, but so many others have a companion always by their side. There's something tender in that, isn't there? Even out in the vast cold of space, so many stars are keeping each other company. And when 2 of those stars circle one another, sometimes there are worlds that go along for the ride. Imagine a planet where if you looked up, you'd see not 1 sun setting, but 2, sinking together toward the horizon, painting the sky in double colors, 2 soft glows melting into the evening. Somewhere out there, tonight, on a world we'll never visit, that quiet double sunset is happening, slow and golden, whether anyone is watching or not. The galaxy is full of these gentle scenes, unfolding in the dark, asking nothing of us. Let your shoulders sink a little deeper now. Feel how the bed holds you up, so you don't have to hold yourself at all. Let me tell you about the color of stars, because it's a calmer, sweeter thing than you might expect. When you glance up on a clear night, the stars all look more or less white, like little points of silver. But if you look softly, patiently, you'll start to notice they're not the same at all. Some have a warm orange glow, like the last embers in a fireplace. Some shine a cool, quiet blue, like moonlight on snow. And some, like our own sun, glow a gentle yellow-white, right in the middle. That color is really just a way of telling you how warm each star is. The reddish ones are the cooler, more relaxed stars, taking their time, burning low and slow. The blue-white ones run hotter and faster, so the next time you drift under a night sky, know that you're really looking at a whole spread of temperatures, a soft rainbow scattered across the dark. Most of it too subtle to notice unless you're calm enough to look. And here's the loveliest part. Those cool, reddish stars, the ones that burn so slow and gentle, they're also the ones that live the longest. The small, dim, patient stars can go on glowing for tens of billions of years, far longer than the universe has even existed so far, while the big, bright, dramatic stars burn through their lives in a flash and are gone. These quiet little embers just keep shining, unhurried, in no rush to end. There's a lesson tucked in there somewhere, but you don't need to think about it. Just let it warm you. Slow and gentle lasts the longest. Slow and gentle is exactly what we're doing right now. Take a slow breath in and a long breath out. Now, drifting a little further, I want to tell you about the soft clouds that float between the stars. We call them nebulas, and they're some of the most peaceful things in all the galaxy. A nebula is just an enormous cloud of gas and dust, floating in space, so thin and so spread out that if you flew right through the middle of one, you might barely notice it was there. But from far away, seen all at once, these clouds glow in the most tender colors, soft pinks, dusky blues, pale greens, lit gently from within by the young stars being born inside them. Because that's what a nebula often is, you see. It's a nursery, a quiet place where new stars are slowly forming, gathering themselves together out of the drifting dust, exactly the way our own sun did, so very long ago. Just imagine that for a moment, as you lie here, somewhere in the galaxy right now, in the hushed heart of one of those glowing clouds, a brand new star is stirring to life, gathering warmth, getting ready to shine for the first time. It won't happen quickly. It takes millions of years for a star to be born. There's no clock ticking, no deadline, no rush. Just the slow, patient gathering of light in the dark. The galaxy is always making new stars, gently, quietly, the way a garden is always growing, even in the parts you never see. And some of those same clouds are also where stars go to rest at the end. When a gentle star like our sun finally runs low on fuel, after billions and billions of peaceful years, it doesn't vanish with any drama. It slowly swells and softens and breathes its outer layers back out into space, releasing them like a long, slow exhale. Those glowing shells drift outward, forming some of the prettiest clouds in the whole sky. Delicate rings and soft bubbles of colored light. And that gas, that stardust, doesn't just disappear. It floats out into the galaxy and eventually becomes part of the next nebula, the next nursery, the next generation of stars. Nothing is wasted out there. Nothing is truly lost. It all just gets gently passed along, from one glowing life to the next, around and around, for as long as the galaxy turns. Breathe that in. The whole universe recycles its light, softly, endlessly. And so, in a way, do we. Let your jaw unclench. Let the space between your eyebrows go smooth. Let your hands rest, open and easy. Here's a quiet one to sink into. You might think of space as completely empty, and mostly it is. But scattered all through the galaxy, there is dust. Not the dust that gathers on a shelf, but tiny grains of frozen gas and ancient minerals drifting between the stars in enormous, thin, slow-moving clouds. And that gentle dust does something beautiful. It softens the light. When you look toward the center of our galaxy, you can't see it clearly because there's so much dust in the way, dimming and reddening the glow, like sunlight coming through a curtain. In fact, if all that dust weren't there, the heart of the Milky Way would blaze so brightly in our night sky that it might be hard to sleep at all. So in a strange, tender way, that drifting dust is like a soft shade drawn gently across the brightest part of the galaxy, keeping the night calm and dim and restful, just right for sleeping. The universe, it turns out, dims its own lights at bedtime. Let me tell you how slowly everything out there moves, because it's one of the most soothing things I know. When you look at the night sky, the stars seem completely still, fixed in place, like they've been arranged just so and told to stay, but they're not still at all. Every single star is moving, drifting through the galaxy at tremendous speeds, tens of thousands of kilometers every hour. And yet, because they're so unimaginably far away, all that motion is invisible to us. The patterns of the stars, the shapes our ancestors named thousands of years ago, they look almost exactly the same tonight as they did back then. The same soft arrangement watched over sleeping people long before you were born, and it'll watch over sleeping people long after. The sky changes so slowly, so gently, that within a single human life, it seems to hold perfectly still. A steady, unchanging blanket of light. Something you can always count on to be there. Isn't that a comforting thought? That no matter how much your days may shift and turn, the stars above stay soft and steady, moving so slowly that to your eyes they simply hold you, night after night, always in more or less the same familiar places. Take another slow breath, in and out. A little heavier now, a little further away. Now here is a gentle idea about time itself. Because everything in space is so far away, and because light takes so long to cross those distances, when you look out at the galaxy, you're never really seeing the present moment. You're seeing the past. The starlight touching your eyes tonight left its star years, or centuries, or thousands of years ago. So the night sky isn't a photograph of how things are right now. It's more like a soft collage of many different moments, all layered together, some old, some older still, all arriving at once for you to gaze upon. In a single glance, you might take in light that's a few years old, sitting right beside light that's older than the pyramids. The sky is a kind of gentle time machine, and every time you look up, you're quietly looking backward into a past that's still glowing, still traveling, still arriving. And there's nothing frightening in that. It's peaceful. The past is still with us, softly, in the form of light. Feel yourself settling deeper into that thought, the way you settle deeper into a warm bed on a cold night. Let me tell you about how far apart the stars really are, because the sheer roominess of it all is a comfort in its own quiet way. We tend to imagine the night sky as crowded, all those thousands of stars packed close together. But if you could shrink our sun down to the size of a single grain of sand, then the nearest other grain of sand, the next star over, would be kilometers away. Kilometers of empty, silent space between two tiny specks. That's how much room there is out there. The galaxy isn't crowded at all. It's vast and open and gentle, with oceans of calm dark between every point of light. And I find that soothing, honestly. All that space, all that quiet, nothing bumping into anything else, just soft lights, spread wide and far, turning slowly through an enormous, patient calm. There's room out there for everything. Room to breathe, room to drift, room to rest. So let yourself have some of that same spaciousness right now. There's nowhere you need to be, nothing pressing in, just soft, open room all around you, and all the quiet time in the world to sink into it. Breathe in that stillness and let it carry you, one slow star at a time, a little further out into the peaceful dark. There's another gentle truth about the galaxy that I think you'll like, and it's this. Almost everything out there is moving in the same soft direction, all turning together, like leaves floating on the surface of a slow river. The whole disk of the Milky Way spins, patiently, carrying every star along with it. Our sun and all its planets, and you, right there in your bed. We're all being carried around the center of the galaxy at once, in one enormous, unhurried circle. And it takes so long to go around, just once, that a single lap lasts somewhere around 230 million years. Think about that for a moment. The last time our sun was in the spot it's in tonight, there were creatures walking the earth that no human eye has ever seen. And it doesn't feel like anything. There's no rush of wind, no sense of speed, just a smooth, silent gliding through the dark, so gentle that you'd never know it was happening at all. You're on the calmest carousel ever made, turning once every quarter of a billion years, and all it asks of you is that you rest. So let that carry you now. You don't have to do anything to move. You're already drifting, already being carried, softly, through the wide turning of the galaxy. Just let it hold you. Breathe in and breathe out, slower this time. Let me tell you about the space between the stars, because it isn't quite as empty as you might think, and what fills it is soft and lovely. Drifting through the great gaps between the stars, there are enormous, faint clouds, so thin and so spread out that if you stood inside one, you might not even notice it was there. These clouds are the quiet nurseries of the galaxy. They hang in the dark for ages, cool and calm, doing nothing at all, until very slowly, over millions of years, their own gentle weight begins to pull them inward. And as they gather deep in their soft hearts, new stars begin to warm and glow. Every star you've ever seen was born from one of these patient clouds. There's no hurry in it, none at all. A star can take millions of years just to be born, gathering itself together in the dark, one slow wisp of gas at a time, until at last it kindles into light. And I find something deeply restful in that the galaxy doesn't rush its most important work. It takes all the time in the world to make a single star. It lets things happen slowly, softly, in their own gentle season. So there's no need for you to hurry into sleep either. Let it gather the way a star gathers, slowly, quietly, with no effort at all on your part. It will come when it's ready. All you have to do is lie here and let the softness collect around you. Feel how heavy your arms have become, how your legs have gone loose and warm against the sheets. There's nowhere to be, nothing to reach for. Here's a soft thought about the stars you can actually see. On a clear, dark night, far from any city lights, the most stars a person can see with just their eyes is somewhere around 2,000 or 3,000. That's all. Just a couple thousand gentle points of light. And yet that tiny handful, that small scattering, has been enough to fill people with wonder for as long as there have been people at all. Every culture that ever lived looked up at more or less that same small number of stars and found stories in them, and comfort and company through the long nights. Those 2,000 or 3,000 stars are only the very nearest ones, the closest lights in our little corner of a galaxy that holds hundreds of billions more. But you don't need to see them all. Even that small, close handful is plenty to rest beneath. It always has been. Countless people before you have drifted off to sleep under that very same soft scattering and felt themselves held by it, just as you can right now. Let your breathing slow to match the stillness of that thought. In, gently. Out, gently. Nothing to hold on to. Nothing to keep. Now let me tell you something soothing about starlight itself, about the way it travels to reach you. When a star sends out its light, that light spreads in every direction at once, like the warmth from a candle filling a dark room. Most of it sails off into the empty dark forever, never touching a single thing. But a tiny, tiny sliver of it, after crossing all those years of quiet space, happens to land right on you, on the small, dark pool of your eye as you look up. Think of how gentle that is. Out of all the directions that light could have gone, a little of it came to find you. It traveled all that way, patient and unhurried, just to arrive softly against your eye and become, for a moment, a star that you can see. Every point of light in the night sky is a little arrival like that, a long, slow journey ending gently in your gaze. And the star never runs out. It keeps sending its light outward, night after night, year after year, freely, endlessly, asking for nothing in return. The galaxy is generous that way. It's forever giving its light away into the dark, softly, and never seems to mind. So let yourself receive that softness now. You don't have to earn it. You don't have to do anything at all. The light comes to you freely. The rest comes to you freely. And all you have to do is lie here and let it land. Breathe and sink a little deeper. Let me tell you about the quietest places in the galaxy, the great dark stretches between the spiral arms. We've drifted along the bright, curving arms tonight, where the young stars gather and the glowing clouds hang like soft lanterns. But between those arms, there are wide, calm lanes of shadow, places where the stars thin out and the dark grows deep and peaceful. If you were to float out there, in one of those still gaps between the arms, you'd be surrounded by the gentlest quiet imaginable. A few distant stars, scattered far and faint, and otherwise just soft, open dark in every direction, stretching further than you could ever travel. No sound, no motion you could feel, only the slow, patient turning of everything, and a stillness so complete it would feel like being wrapped in the softest blanket ever made. Some people might find all that emptiness lonely, but I don't. I find it restful. It's the deepest kind of quiet there is, a quiet that has never once been broken, a calm older than the earth itself. And it's out there right now, that vast, gentle hush, filling most of the galaxy, holding all those distant lights in its soft, dark hands. You can carry a little of that hush with you into sleep, that deep, unbroken quiet, that soft, open dark, where nothing presses and nothing hurries, and everything is simply allowed to be still. Let it settle over you now, like a blanket drawn up gently to your chin. Feel your eyelids growing heavy. Feel the warmth spreading through you, slow and easy. There's no need to stay awake for this. You can let the words wash over you like distant light and drift whenever you're ready. Here's another soft thing to hold on to. All those hundreds of billions of stars in our galaxy, they're not the whole story. Our Milky Way is just one galaxy among a great, gentle crowd of them, floating through the wider universe like soft islands of light scattered across a calm, dark sea. And the nearest large galaxy to ours, a great spiral much like our own, drifts about 2.5 million light-years away. That's so far that the light reaching us from it tonight left before there were people at all. And yet, on a very dark night, you can just barely see it with your own eyes. A faint, soft smudge of light, the most distant thing a human being can see without any help at all. Think of that. A whole other galaxy, hundreds of billions of stars, gathered together into one dim, gentle glow that you could hold behind your eyelids. And it's drifting closer to us, slowly, softly, over billions of years, in the calmest approach imaginable. There's nothing to fear in it. It's just two great pinwheels of light, turning gently toward one another across an ocean of quiet time. In no hurry at all, let that far, soft glow settle in your mind, like a nightlight left on in a distant room. Comforting, faint, always there, whether you're watching or not. Breathe in, slow and deep, and let it out with a long, quiet sigh. A little more of the day leaving you now. A little more weight sinking down into the bed. Let me tell you something tender about our own sun, since it's the star we know best of all. It's an ordinary star, really, middling in size, middling in brightness, one of countless billions just like it's scattered through the galaxy. Nothing about it would stand out if you saw it from far away, and yet it's ours, and it's been steady and faithful to us for about 4.5 billion years, rising and setting without fail, warming the seas and the fields and the faces of everyone who's ever lived. And it has billions of peaceful years still ahead of it, burning slow and calm, in no danger, in no hurry. That thought always settles me, that the star we depend on is not some fragile flame that might flicker out tonight, but a deep, patient furnace with more calm burning left in it than you could ever count. It will rise again tomorrow, softly, the way it always has. You can trust it completely. You don't have to keep watch. You don't have to worry it away. It will be there in the morning, gentle and gold at the edge of the sky, without any help from you at all. So let go of keeping watch. The sun doesn't need you to hold it up. The stars don't need you to keep them turning. The whole vast, gentle galaxy turns on perfectly well without any effort from you, and it always has. Your only task right now is to rest, to let your body grow heavy and warm and still, and to sink slowly into the soft dark that's been waiting for you all along. Breathe in the calm and breathe out the day. Feel how far away everything has drifted now. How quiet it's all become. There's just you and the soft turning of the stars and all the gentle time in the world. Let me leave you with one more easy thought before we drift on. Every atom of light out there, every distant star, every faint far galaxy, every slow cloud waiting to become a sun, all of it is moving at the same unhurried pace, taking all the time it needs, never rushing, never straining, never once in a hurry to be anywhere. The whole galaxy is patient. The whole universe is patient, and you're a part of it, made of the very same ancient stuff, turning gently through the same great calm. So you can be patient too. You can let sleep come in its own soft time, the way starlight comes, the way new stars come, slowly, gently, arriving when they're ready and not a moment before. There's nothing to chase, nothing to reach. Just let yourself keep drifting, one slow star at a time, deeper into the quiet, softer with every breath, further out into the peaceful, patient dark. Let me tell you about the moons out there, because they're some of the gentlest company the galaxy has to offer. When you think of a moon, you probably picture our own, that pale round face that rises over the rooftops and lays a soft silver path across the water. But our moon is just one of so many. In our little corner alone, circling the planets we share the sun with, there are more than 200 moons, drifting along in patient loops, each one keeping faithful company to its world the way ours keeps company to us. Some are tiny, no bigger than a mountain, tumbling slowly, end over end. Some are enormous, larger even than the smallest planets, wrapped in thick orange air, or coated in ice that's smoother than anything we've ever touched. And every single one of them is turning quietly right now, in the dark, going around and around, without ever once growing tired of the journey. There's something so soothing in that, isn't there? All those little worlds, keeping their slow appointments, never rushing, never wandering off, just circling and circling in the calm. There's one moon in particular I like to think about when I'm drifting off. It's wrapped in a thick golden haze, and beneath that haze, there are lakes and rivers, real ones, that fill and empty and flow, except they're not made of water at all. They're made of something so cold it stays liquid where water would freeze solid in an instant. Picture it, a quiet shoreline under an amber sky, gentle waves lapping against a soft dark beach, rain falling slow and heavy through the still air, and not a single soul there to see it. It's been raining on that faraway shore for longer than there have been people to imagine it. And it'll keep on raining there long after tonight has faded into morning, patient and unhurried, whether we ever visit or not. Let that peaceful, faraway rain fall somewhere in the back of your mind now, soft and steady, as you sink a little deeper. You know, we tend to think of the planets as the big, important things, and the little bits of ice and a rock as leftovers. But those little bits have their own quiet beauty. Far out past the last of the planets, way beyond where the sun's warmth can reach, there's a vast, slow cloud of icy worldlets, more than you could ever count, drifting in the deep cold at the very edge of the sun's reach. They move so slowly out there that a single loop around the sun can take millions of years. Just imagine that. Something out there began its long, slow circle back when the very first simple life was stirring in Earth's oceans, and it still hasn't finished going around even once. That's how gentle time is out at the edges. That's how much room there is to take things slowly. And every so often, one of those icy travelers drifts a little closer in, warms just enough to grow a long, soft tail of light, and becomes what we call a comet, tracing a slow, bright line across the night before turning quietly back out into the dark for another few thousand years. No rush, no hurry, just a long, patient loop through the calm. Let me tell you about the rings, because they're one of the loveliest, most delicate things in the whole galaxy. You've probably seen pictures of that one great planet wearing its wide, bright halo, tilted and shining. But here's the tender part most people never think about. Those rings aren't solid at all. They're made of countless billions of little pieces of ice, each one turning around the planet on its own. From grains as small as sugar to chunks as big as a house. All of them drifting along together in a band so thin that for all its enormous width, it's only about as deep as a tall building is high. From far away, it looks like one smooth, perfect ring. But up close, it's a slow, sparkling swarm of gentle ice, each piece minding its own quiet orbit, catching the distant sunlight and letting it go, over and over, in the deep silence. Nothing out there is holding those rings together but the softest, most patient kind of order. And they just keep turning, shining, drifting, in no hurry to be anything other than beautiful. Here's a soft thought about the stars we string together into shapes. All those pictures we see in the sky, the hunter, the bear, the little spoon of stars, the ones people have told stories about for thousands of years, none of them are really there at all. The stars in any one of those shapes aren't neighbors. They're not clustered together in space the way they seem to be when we look up. One might be 40 light years away, and another in the very same shape might be 400, sitting far behind it, with nothing but empty dark between them. We only see them as a group because of the particular spot we happen to be standing on. From any other star, the whole sky would rearrange itself into shapes no human eye has ever seen. And I find something wonderfully calming in that. Those patterns aren't out there in the cold. They're a gift of where we happen to be. Little pictures our ancestors drew to feel at home under all that dark. And they've kept people company for longer than anyone can remember. The same friendly shapes wheeling slowly overhead, night after night, generation after generation. You're looking up at the very same stars that comforted people thousands of years ago, and they'll comfort people thousands of years from now, long after tonight. Let me tell you about the pole star, the one that hardly seems to move. If you've ever been out on a really clear night and watched the sky for a long, long while, you might have noticed that the whole thing seems to turn, ever so slowly, all the stars wheeling in a great, patient circle. But there's one star, up in the north, that barely stirs at all. Everything turns around it, the way a wheel turns around its hub. For as long as there have been travelers and sailors and wanderers, that quiet, steady star has been the one thing you could always find, always trust, always steer by. It didn't guide people by being the brightest, because it isn't. It guided them by being faithful, by staying put while everything else moved. There's a soft kind of comfort in a thing like that, a single steady point in all that turning, something that stays. And here's a gentle secret about it. Even that steady star isn't perfectly fixed. Over many thousands of years, the slow wobble of our own world will hand the honor to other stars, one after another, and someday, far in the future, our pole star will drift aside and a new one will take up the quiet post. But it all happens so slowly, so gently, that for your whole life and 100 lives after, it'll stay right where it's always been, faithful in the north, keeping its patient watch so you don't have to. You might wonder what happens when stars gather together in great families. And it turns out that's one of the softest sights the galaxy has to offer. Some stars are born alone, but many are born in big, loose bundles, hundreds or thousands of them, all forming out of the same great cloud at nearly the same time, like brothers and sisters. And for a long, long while, they drift along together through the galaxy, a little traveling family of light. In some of these clusters, the stars are packed so close and gathered so tight that from a distance, they look like a single soft smudge of glowing haze, a little pool of light spilled across the dark. Astronomers sometimes call the prettiest of these a beehive or a jewel box. And once you've heard those names, you can't help but picture them. All those tiny points of light nestled together, warm and close, keeping each other company across the ages. Slowly, over hundreds of millions of years, the family drifts apart, each star wandering off on its own long path, the way children grow up and scatter to their own lives. But for now, tonight, out there in the dark, there are countless little clusters still glowing softly together, still keeping close, still turning as one. Let me tell you about the streaks of light we call shooting stars, because they're far gentler than they sound. When you see one flash across the sky and fade, you might imagine some great fiery event. But most of them are made by specks of dust no bigger than a grain of sand, little crumbs left behind by those slow, wandering comets. Our world drifts through those old dusty trails as it circles the sun. And when one of those tiny grains slips into the air high above us, it glows for just a moment, a brief, warm line of light, and then it's gone. That's all a shooting star really is, a speck of ancient dust, older than the earth itself, saying a quiet little goodbye as it lights up the dark. And on certain nights, when we pass through a thicker part of one of those old trails, the sky fills with them, dozens an hour, slow and silent, each one tracing its gentle arc and vanishing. People lie back in the grass on those nights and just watch, not hurrying, not counting, letting each soft streak come and go. You don't have to catch them. You don't have to wish on everyone. You can just let them drift past, the way you're letting your thoughts drift past now, one gentle line of light at a time. Here's a tender thing about the great cloud we belong to, the whole spiral of the Milky Way. It's not sitting alone in the dark. It has neighbors, a whole little gathering of galaxies that keep company across the enormous quiet, drifting along together, held in a soft, slow embrace by nothing more than the gentlest pull between them. Some of these neighbors are small, faint little smudges of a few billion stars, orbiting our great pinwheel the way moons orbit a world. Others are grand and bright, turning far off in the dark. And all of them together, dozens of galaxies, make up our own small neighborhood in a universe that holds more galaxies than there are grains of sand on every beach on Earth. Just think of that for a moment, softly. Every grain of sand you've ever felt slip through your fingers on every shore, in every summer you can remember. And still, there are more galaxies than that, each one a swirling ocean of 100 billion suns. And yet, for all that unimaginable vastness, it's all so calm, so quiet, so patient. Nothing out there is rushing. Nothing is anxious. The whole endless sea of light just turns and drifts and glows, taking all the time in the world, and it always will. There's a color that fills the whole sky, if only our eyes could see it. And it's the softest, oldest light there is. Long, long ago, when the whole universe was young and warm and glowing, it gave off a gentle light that has been traveling ever since, spreading and cooling and stretching out across all that time. It's still here, all around us, coming from every direction at once. A faint, even warmth, left over from the very first days of everything. We can't see it with our eyes, but it's there, filling every gap between the stars, the softest possible glow, the quiet afterlight of the beginning of all things. Just imagine lying inside a light that old, a light that's been on the whole time, wrapping around every star and every world and every one of us, gentle and warm and steady, never going out. You've been bathed in it your whole life without ever knowing. It was there when you were born. It's here now, in the dark of your room, passing softly through you as you lie still. And it'll go on filling the universe with its patient warmth long after tonight is only a dream you half remember. Before we drift on a little further into the quiet, I'd love to hear from you. Whenever you wake, gently and in your own time. If you have a favorite thing up in the night sky, a star you always look for, a planet you once caught glowing at dusk, or even just a memory of lying out under all that dark and feeling small and safe at the same time, leave it down in the comments for me. I read them slowly on quiet evenings, and there's something lovely about a little collection of people all sharing the calm they found under the same wide sky. You don't have to write it now. Let it drift up on its own tomorrow, whenever it comes to you. For now, there's nothing to do but keep sinking, keep softening, keep letting each slow breath carry you further out into that peaceful, patient dark, one gentle star at a time. Let me tell you about comets, because for all the stories people used to tell about them, they're really among the gentlest wanderers in the whole galaxy. Picture a small, quiet lump of ice and dust, no bigger than a little town, drifting far out in the cold edges of our solar system, further than any planet, out where the sun is just one more bright star among the thousands. Out there it's so cold and so still that a comet can sleep for thousands and thousands of years, turning slowly in the dark, going nowhere in any hurry at all. And then, every so often, one of them begins the long, slow fall inward, drawn ever so gently by the warmth of the distant sun. It takes ages to make the journey, drifting closer a little at a time, and as it warms, its icy skin begins to soften and lift away, unfurling into that long glowing tail we sometimes see stretched across the night. That tail can reach for millions of kilometers, a soft ribbon of light trailing behind, always pointing away from the sun, like a scarf caught in the gentlest of breezes. And here's the tender part. That tail isn't smoke, and it isn't fire. It's the comet quietly letting go of a little of itself, breathing out a fine mist of ice and dust that catches the sunlight and glows. Some of the comets that pass by us won't return for hundreds of years, and a few won't come back for tens of thousands. So when one drifts through our sky, we're seeing a visitor that last passed this way long before anyone alive was born, and won't come again until long after tonight is forgotten. There's something lovely in that, isn't there? A slow, patient traveler, keeping its own unhurried schedule, needing nothing from us, simply passing through on its long, quiet loop around the sun, glowing softly for a little while before slipping back out into the dark to sleep again. Let me tell you about the color blue and where it hides out in the galaxy, because it's a soft and surprising little thought. When you look up at a clear night, the stars mostly seem white, or maybe a faint gold, but scattered here and there among them are stars that burn a cool, gentle blue. These are the great bright giants, enormous and luminous, pouring out light so fiercely that their glow tips over from white into blue, the way the very hottest part of a candle flame does, right down at its base. They're rare, these blue stars, far rarer than the soft red ones, and they don't last very long. As stars measure time, a blue giant might shine for only a few million years, which sounds like forever to us, but is really just a brief, brilliant flicker in the long, slow life of the galaxy. And yet while they burn, they light up whole regions of space around them, setting the nearby clouds of gas aglow, painting soft blues and greens across the dark. So if you ever see a picture of the night sky glowing in gentle colors, chances are there's a young blue star somewhere in the middle of it, quietly lighting the whole neighborhood, like a single lamp making a warm room glow. They shine hard and bright, and then they fade, and somehow, even that feels peaceful when you think of it slowly enough. A bright thing giving all its light at once, and then resting. Let me tell you about the outer planets, the cold and distant ones, because they turn so slowly and so calmly out there in the dark that just thinking of them can quiet the mind. Far, far from the sun, past the warm little worlds and the great striped giant with its many moons, there are two enormous planets that glow the softest shades of blue and green. They're wrapped in thick, deep skies of gentle color, cool and cloudy and calm, and they drift along their orbits so slowly that a single year on one of them, a single trip around the sun, takes longer than all of recorded human history. Just imagine that. On the furthest of them, one slow lap around the sun takes almost 165 of our years. So since the day that planet was first discovered, it has only just now finished one single orbit, one lonely, patient year. Out there, the sunlight is dim and soft, no brighter than a bright moonlit night here at home, and the winds move through those deep skies in slow, endless bands. Nobody is out there. Nothing is waiting. These great blue worlds simply turn and drift through the cold and the quiet, keeping their own slow time, glowing faintly in the dark, asking nothing of anyone. There's a deep and easy calm in picturing them, so far away, so unbothered, rolling gently through space the way they have for billions of years, and the way they will for billions more. Let me tell you about the light of the moon, our own dear moon, since it's the nearest and most familiar thing in all the night sky. You've seen it 1,000 times, hanging soft and round above the rooftops, or thin as a paring of silver near the edge of dusk. And here's a gentle truth about it. The moon makes no light of its own at all, not a glimmer. Everything you've ever seen of it, every full moon that lit a quiet road, every soft glow that came through your curtains, all of it is really sunlight, caught and thrown back to you across the dark. The moon is just a great pale stone, drifting around us, and the sun shines on it the way it shines on everything. And a little of that light bounces gently down to us. So when you lie beneath a full moon, you're really lying in sunlight that took the long way round, sunlight softened and cooled and made quiet by its bounce off that distant gray world. And that light is old too, in its own small way. It took a little over a second to travel from the moon to your eyes, which doesn't sound like much, but it means you never quite see the moon as it is right now. You always see it as it was a heartbeat ago. Isn't that a soft thing to hold on to? Even the moon, so close and so familiar, is a little memory by the time its light reaches you. A gentle echo of a moment just barely past, glowing down on you as you drift towards sleep. Let me tell you about the great empty spaces between the galaxies. Because as vast and dark as they are, there's a deep peacefulness in them once you let the mind settle there. We've talked about the space between the stars, all those quiet light years of near nothing. But the space between whole galaxies is grander still, so wide and so still that it's hard to hold in the mind all at once. Between our galaxy and its nearest large neighbor there stretches a gulf so enormous that light itself, the fastest thing there is, takes millions of years to cross it, and most of that space is emptier than anything you could ever imagine. Emptier than the finest, cleanest laboratory ever made on Earth. A single lonely atom here, another one far, far away, drifting through a dark so complete and so quiet that nothing disturbs it for ages upon ages. And yet it isn't a frightening emptiness. Not really. Not once you slow down enough to feel it properly. It's more like the deep hush of a wide field at night, or the stillness of a lake with not a breath of wind on it. Nothing is wrong out there. Nothing is missing. It's simply resting, vast and open and calm, holding the galaxies apart the way soft dark holds the stars apart, giving everything room to drift and turn without ever bumping or crowding. There's a kind of generosity in all that space, a spaciousness that lets everything be exactly where it is, unhurried and undisturbed. You can let your own thoughts spread out into a stillness like that, wide and quiet, with plenty of room, nothing pressing in from any side. Let me tell you about the way galaxies slowly drift together, because even that great slow motion is as gentle as everything else out there. Our own galaxy and that nearest big neighbor of ours are, ever so slowly, drifting toward one another, drawn by the same soft pull that keeps your feet on the ground and the moon in its orbit. But there's nothing sudden about it, nothing to worry over. They're closing the gap between them at a pace that, for all its speed, is nothing against the sheer size of the distance. It will take billions of years for them to meet, longer than the Earth has yet existed. And when they finally do, it won't be a crash or a collision the way we'd picture it. The stars are so far apart, remember, so wonderfully roomy, that the two galaxies will simply pass through one another like two slow clouds mingling, two great swirls of light drifting gently into a single, larger one, hardly a single star touching another. It will take so long and unfold so softly that any beings who happen to be watching from some quiet world will only ever see it as still and calm as we see the sky tonight. Whole galaxies, merging like milk stirred slowly into tea, over a span of time so long it makes a single human life feel like the briefest, sweetest flicker. And that's a comforting thing somehow, to know that even the grandest events in all the universe happen this slowly, this gently, With all the patience in the world, let me tell you about the oldest stars we know of, the quiet elders of the galaxy, because there's something deeply restful in how long they've been shining. Scattered through our galaxy, mostly out in the calm halo that wraps around the bright spiral, there are stars so old that they've been burning almost since the very beginning of everything. Some of them have been shining for well over 12 billion years, which is nearly as long as the universe itself has existed. Just think of that as you lie here, before there was an Earth, before there was a sun, before there was a single ocean or mountain or living thing anywhere near us. These gentle old stars were already there, already glowing, already keeping their slow and steady watch over the dark. They're cooler now and dimmer, burning low and careful the way an old fire settles into its softest, longest-lasting embers. They don't blaze, they don't rush. They've learned, if a star can be said to learn anything, the deep patience of taking their time, of giving out their light slowly enough to last through ages that we can barely name. And they'll go on shining long after we're gone, long after tonight, quietly holding their place in the halo of the galaxy, the oldest lights we know, the calm grandparents of the sky, still glowing softly out there in the dark, in no hurry at all to fade. Let me tell you about how empty an atom is, because the same soft roominess we find out among the stars turns out to be hiding right inside of you too. Everything you can touch, the blanket over you, your own two hands, the pillow beneath your head, all of it is made of tiny atoms, far too small to see. And each of those atoms, it turns out, is almost entirely empty space. Right at the center, there's a tiny, tiny speck that holds nearly all the weight. And then, incredibly far away by the atom's own small measure, a few even tinier things drift around it. And in between, there's nothing but quiet, open room. If you were to make the center of an atom the size of a little marble set down in the middle of a great cathedral, the rest of the atom would drift somewhere out near the far walls, with all that vast, still space in between. So in a very real way, you are mostly space, gentle and open, just like the galaxy above you. The same soft emptiness that lets the stars drift so freely runs all the way through you as you lie here breathing. You're not solid and heavy at all, not really. You're a great, quiet gathering of mostly empty specks, held together softly, humming along in perfect stillness. And every one of those specks was made, long ago, in the warm heart of some ancient star. So you're not separate from the calm sky above you. You're a little piece of it, resting here in the dark, made of the same quiet, spacious stuff, drifting gently towards sleep, the way the stars drift gently through the night. Let me tell you about the space dust that quietly falls to Earth every single day, because it's one of the softest thoughts I know to fall asleep on. Right now, as you lie here, tiny specks are drifting down through the sky and settling gently onto everything, onto the rooftops and the fields and the wide dark oceans. So small and so slow, you could never feel a single one of them land. Some of these little grains came from comets, some drifted off from distant worlds long ago, and all of them have been floating quietly through space for ages, in no hurry to arrive. And then, one soft night like this one, they slip into the top of our air and come sifting down, gentle as the finest snow, so light and so unhurried that they never make a sound. Every year, something like tens of thousands of tons of this quiet stardust settles over the whole planet. And yet it's so evenly and so gently spread that no one ever notices. It's on your windowsill. It's in the garden. A little of it may even be resting in your own hair right now. Tiny pieces of the wider galaxy come to lie down beside you. Isn't that a soft thing to know? That the sky is always, always coming home to us, one weightless speck at a time. Let your breathing slow down now, easy and unforced, like those little grains drifting down through the calm air. Let me tell you about the far side of the moon, the face we never get to see from here, because there's a gentle quiet to it that's lovely to rest your mind against. You've looked up at the moon 1,000 times, and every single one of those times, you saw the very same face, the same soft patterns of light and shadow that people have gazed at for as long as there have been people. That's because the moon turns just once for every trip it makes around us. So it always keeps the same cheek turned our way, slow and faithful and unchanging. And that means there's a whole other side of the moon, a far side, that has never once looked back at the Earth, not in all these billions of years. It isn't dark, not really. The sunlight washes over it, just the same as it washes over the side we know. It's simply private, turned away, keeping its own quiet company out there in the night. For most of human history, no one had ever laid eyes on it at all. It was the one place close to home that stayed completely hidden, a soft secret kept just around the curve of the moon. And even now, it goes on turning slowly through the sunlight and the shadow, calm and unbothered. Whether anyone is looking or not, feel the pillow beneath your head, soft and steady, holding you the way the sky holds the moon. Let me tell you about how gently the planets hold on to their moons, because it's one of the tenderest arrangements in all the galaxy. Out there, a big planet doesn't grab its moons or clutch them close. It simply curves the space around itself, ever so slightly, and the moons go drifting along that gentle curve, round and round, for billions of quiet years. There's no effort in it, no strain, no holding on tight. It's the softest kind of togetherness there is. Two things kept close, not by force, but by the gentle shape of the space between them. Our own moon circles us that same easy way, never pulled and never pushed, just following the soft dip that the Earth makes in the space all around it. The way a marble rolls slowly along the inside of a wide, shallow bowl. And it will keep on doing that long after tonight, drifting faithfully around us, needing nothing, asking nothing, simply keeping us company through the dark. There's a real comfort in that, I think. The idea that closeness out there costs nothing at all, that things can stay near each other for ages and ages, just by the quiet lay of the land. Let that thought settle over you, soft and warm. Nothing to hold on to, nothing to keep, just the gentle nearness of things. Let me tell you about the seasons on other worlds, because they turn so slowly and so calmly that just thinking of them can slow your own heart down a little. Here on Earth, a year goes by in the time it takes us to circle the sun just once, and our seasons come and go in their familiar, gentle rhythm. Spring easing into summer, autumn settling into winter, all of it turning over in a single soft year. But out past us, on the colder, farther worlds, a single trip around the sun can take dozens of our years, sometimes more than 100. That means a season out there, a single winter or a single summer, can last longer than an entire human life. Imagine a winter so long and so patient that you could be born beneath its stars, live a whole quiet life, and it would still be winter when you were done. the same slow season holding steady the entire time. There's nothing hurried out there, nothing rushing to change. A far-off world just leans gently one way, and then, over ages, ever so slowly leans the other, taking its unhurried time about everything. And somehow, that's a soothing thing to picture as you lie here. Whole seasons stretching out longer than we can really imagine, changing so slowly that the change is barely a change at all. Just the softest, most gradual turning in the dark. Let your body grow heavier now, sinking down, in no more hurry than those long, slow seasons out among the distant worlds. Let me tell you about the quiet way starlight becomes warmth, because it's a soft little piece of magic that happens without any fuss at all. When a star sends its light out across the dark, that light travels for years, sometimes thousands or millions of years, cold and silent through the emptiness, and then it lands on something, a world, a moon, a drifting speck of dust. And in that gentle landing, the light gives up a little of itself and turns into warmth. That's really all sunlight is when it touches your face on a bright afternoon. Old light from our own star finally arriving, finally coming to rest, and warming your skin as it settles. Every bit of warmth you've ever felt from the sky began as light on a long, quiet journey. The heat that ripens the fruit and thaws the frost and warms the sleeping cat in the window. All of it was starlight once, traveling patiently through space until it found something soft to land on. And it's still happening, everywhere, all the time, gentle and endless, light turning quietly into warmth across the whole wide galaxy. There's a real coziness in that thought, I think. The whole universe softly warming itself, one patient beam of light at a time. Feel that warmth in your own body now, gathered in your chest, in your hands, in the slow rise and fall of your breathing. Let me tell you about how the biggest stars end up making the smallest, quietest things, because there's a gentle circle in it that's lovely to rest your mind on. The great, brilliant stars, the ones that burn so hot and so bright, they don't last very long, not by the slow clock of the galaxy. And when their long day is finally done, they gather themselves in and settle down into something remarkably small and calm. A quiet little heart of a star, sometimes no bigger across than a sleeping town, yet holding within it the whole weight of a sun. All that brilliance, all that fire, folded down at last into something tiny and still and cool, spinning softly out there in the dark for ages upon ages. It's as if the very biggest things in the sky spend their whole lives learning how to become small and quiet in the end, how to fold up all that light and hold it gently, and simply rest. There's a lesson in that somewhere, I think, though maybe not one we need to reach for tonight. For now, it's enough just to picture it. Those great old stars settling softly down into their smallest, calmest selves, done with all their blazing, content at last to be still. Let your own thoughts fold down that way now, gathering in, growing smaller and softer and quieter, settling toward stillness. Let me tell you about the tail of a comet and which way it points, because it's a gentle surprise that's soft and pretty to hold in mind. You might think that when a comet goes drifting through the sky, its long, glowing tail would stream out behind it. Trailing along the way, a scarf trails behind you when you walk. But it doesn't work that way at all out there. A comet's tail always points away from the sun, no matter which way the comet itself is heading. So when a comet is on its way back out toward the cold and distant dark, its tail actually goes before it, leading the way home, a soft, bright banner streaming out ahead. That's because the gentle push of the sun's light is always brushing the tail outward, ever so lightly, combing it away from that warmth the way a breeze combs the tall grass all in one direction. There's something so calm about that. The idea of a wanderer whose long glowing trail is arranged not by where it's going, but simply by the quiet, steady presence of a distant fire. No matter how the comet turns and drifts, that soft light keeps its tail smoothed gently outward, patient and constant, all the way around its long, slow loop through the sky. Let your shoulders soften, your hands go loose, everything in you brush gently in the same easy direction, toward rest. Let me tell you about how empty and yet how full the dark between the planets really is, because it's a soothing thing to turn over slowly as you drift. Out there, between one world and the next, it seems like there's nothing at all, just vast, silent, open dark, mile after gentle mile of it. And yet that quiet space is never truly empty. There's a soft, thin wind blowing through it, always. A gentle stream of tiny pieces drifting out from the sun, so faint and so fine that you'd never feel it, moving out through the whole solar system in every direction. It brushes past the planets. It flows around the moons. It carries on out past the farthest, coldest worlds and keeps on going into the deeper, dark beyond. So even the emptiest looking places out there are quietly alive with this soft, invisible drift. A whole ocean of it, calm and endless, and always in gentle motion. Nothing about it is harsh or hurried. It's just the sun breathing out, slowly and forever, filling all that silence with the faintest, gentlest current, so that even the great dark between the worlds is never quite as alone as it looks. Feel yourself floating in that soft current now, carried along without any effort, drifting wherever the quiet takes you. Let me tell you about how still and patient the ice out there really is, because it's one of the calmest thoughts to fall asleep beside. On the cold and distant worlds, far from the warmth of the sun, there's ice that has lain untouched and unchanged for billions of years. Not the ice we know, the kind that melts and refreezes with the turning of the days, but a deep, ancient, unmoving stillness, frozen so long and so hard that it's more like stone than snow. Some of it has been sitting there, quiet and undisturbed, since long before the earth had oceans, since long before there was any life at all to notice it. Whole plains and valleys of it, silent and glittering faintly in the far-off starlight, holding their shape through ages we can barely imagine, never melting, never stirring, simply resting in the cold and the dark. There's a deep peacefulness in that kind of stillness, I think. The idea of something so perfectly at rest that billions of years can pass and leave it exactly, gently unchanged. Nothing asked of it, nothing to do. Just the long, quiet keeping of its own calm shape, out there in the patient dark. Let yourself settle into that same deep stillness now, quiet and unmoving, resting as those ancient plains of ice have rested, all this long, long while. Let me tell you about how far the light of a single star can travel, because it's a soft thing to rest your mind against as you sink a little deeper. When a star out there sends its light off into the dark, that light doesn't just brighten the space right around it and then stop. It keeps going, on and on, further than you could ever follow it, crossing whole oceans of empty space without slowing down, without tiring, without ever needing to rest. The gentle glow from a single quiet star can spread out across thousands of light years, washing softly over drifting clouds of dust, over cold and lonely worlds, over other stars going about their own slow lives. And some of that light, after traveling for longer than there have been eyes to see it, finally arrives somewhere and lands, ever so gently, on the surface of a distant world, or on the eye of some faraway watcher, or simply on the emptiness of space, still carrying the faint memory of the star that made it. There's something so tender about that, I think. The idea that even the smallest, softest light has the patience to travel that far, never rushing, just quietly reaching outward for as long as it takes. Let that thought spread through you now, slow and warm, reaching softly into every corner the way that starlight reaches into the dark. Let me tell you about the way the whole galaxy leans and tips ever so gently as it turns, because it's a calming thing to picture as you drift. We tend to imagine the Milky Way as a flat, tidy disk, spinning around neatly, like a coin laid down on a table. But the truth is softer and lovelier than that. The great disk of stars is very slightly warped, curving up a little on one side and dipping down a little on the other, like the brim of an old, well-loved hat that's been worn so long it's settled into its own gentle shape. And this whole soft curve turns slowly through the ages, the warp itself drifting around the galaxy over spans of time so long that no single star ever really feels it move. It's not a flaw, and it's not a wound. It's just the easy, natural sag of something enormous and old, resting into the shape that feels most comfortable to it. All those hundreds of billions of stars, riding gently along that faint curve, none of them troubled by it, none of them holding themselves stiff and straight, just leaning softly with the whole slow turning of home. Let yourself lean into that same easy softness now. No need to hold anything straight or stiff, just settling into the shape that feels most restful. Let me tell you about the quiet halo that wraps all the way around our galaxy, because it's one of the gentlest things to hold in mind before sleep. Beyond the bright, familiar disk where our sun lives, beyond the glowing arms and the crowded heart of it all, there's a vast, soft, invisible sphere that surrounds the whole thing, reaching far out into the dark in every direction. Scattered thinly through that great halo are some of the very oldest stars we know of, drifting alone in the outskirts, far from the busy shine of the center. They move in long, slow, looping paths, rising up above the disk and then sinking back down through it over spans of time so enormous that a single one of their journeys can take longer than the age of everything we usually think of as old. They keep a kind of quiet vigil out there, these lonely elder stars, circling the galaxy from far away, patient and unhurried, wrapping the whole bright wheel of home in a soft, silent embrace. Nothing rushes them, nothing pulls them in. They simply drift along their long, calm orbits, keeping their gentle distance, watching over everything from the quiet edge of the dark. Feel yourself wrapped in that same soft embrace now, held gently from every side, cradled the way the halo cradles the whole slow galaxy. Let me tell you about how starlight changes color as it travels across the widening universe, because it's a soft and dreamy thing to turn over as you rest. When light sets out from a distant galaxy, so far away that the space between here and there is quietly stretching wider all the while, something gentle happens to it along the way. As that light crosses all those endless stretches, the space it moves through slowly grows, and the light itself stretches along with it, its color drifting little by little toward the soft, warm end of things, toward deep reds and gentle glows. So the farther away a galaxy sits, the more its light has mellowed and warmed on the long journey to us, ripening like the last light of an evening that keeps deepening toward gold. There's no harshness in it, no sudden shift, just a slow, patient reddening over unimaginable spans of time and distance, so that the most far-flung lights in all creation reach us looking soft and warm and tired in the loveliest way, as if the whole universe were winding gently down toward its own quiet evening. Let your own thoughts warm and soften like that now, all their sharp edges mellowing, everything in you drifting toward the gentle golden end of the day. Let me tell you about the slow, patient dance of a star and the world that circles it, because it's a tender thing to picture as you sink towards sleep. We usually say that a planet goes around its star, and that's true enough. But the softer truth is that the star feels the planet too, ever so slightly. As the world swings around on its long, quiet loop, the star itself sways just the faintest amount in answer, tugged this way and that by the gentle pull of its little companion, so that the two of them are really moving together, each one leaning toward the other in a slow, shared rhythm. It's a bit like two dancers who've known each other so long they barely need to think about it anymore. One large and steady, one small and light, turning together across the years without a single misstep, without any effort at all. And this soft, swaying dance goes on quietly all across the galaxy. Countless stars, each rocking gently in time with the worlds that keep them company. A whole sky full of these slow, tender motions, none of them hurried, none of them ever coming to an end. Let yourself sway just a little into that rhythm now, gentle and slow, rocking softly the way a star rocks in time with the world it holds dear. Let me tell you about how sound simply can't travel through the great open spaces out there, because there's a deep, soft peace in it once you let it settle. Here on Earth, we're used to sound filling the air all around us, the hum of things, the murmur of voices, the little noises of the night. But out in the vast reaches between the stars, where the space is so empty and so still, there's nothing for a sound to travel through at all. And so those great distances hold a silence more complete and more perfect than anything we ever know down here. A star can flare, a comet can sweep by, whole worlds can turn slowly on their axes, and all of it happens in an absolute velvet hush, without the faintest whisper, without a single note. It's not a lonely kind of quiet though, not once you let yourself sink into it. It's the deepest, most restful silence imaginable, a stillness so pure that it seems to soften everything it touches, wrapping the whole galaxy in a calm that nothing can disturb. Just think of that boundless quiet spreading out in every direction, mile after gentle mile of perfect peace, with nothing at all to break it. Let that great silence fill you now, softening every sound inside you, until your own thoughts grow as hushed and peaceful as the quiet between the stars. Let me tell you about the faint, steady glow that fills the whole night sky, even where there seem to be no stars at all, because it's a comforting thing to keep in mind as you drift off. When you look up at a truly dark patch of sky, one with no bright star in it, no planet, no glowing cloud, It looks perfectly black and empty, but it isn't, not really. If you could gather up the very faintest light from that seemingly empty patch, you'd find it softly aglow with the combined shine of countless galaxies, each one far too dim and too distant to see on its own, all of them blending their gentle light together into the faintest imaginable glow. So there's really no such thing as a truly dark piece of sky. Every direction you could ever look holds the soft, mingled light of more stars and more galaxies than anyone could ever count. A whole universe quietly shining through, so faint that our eyes can't catch it. But they're all the same, filling even the emptiest looking dark with the softest, most distant warmth. There's something lovely in knowing that, I think, that wherever you turn your gaze, the light is always there, patient and gentle, waiting just beyond what the eye can hold. Let that soft, hidden glow settle over you now, filling every quiet corner of your mind, the way it fills every quiet corner of the sky. Let me tell you about how gently a cloud of gas in space becomes a brand new star, because the whole slow story of it is one of the most soothing things I know. Long before a star ever shines, it begins as nothing more than a vast, cold, drifting cloud, thin and soft, and spread out across a great stretch of space. And then, ever so slowly, over spans of time far longer than we can really hold in mind, that cloud begins to gather itself in, drawn together little by the softest pull, growing slightly denser here, slightly warmer there, never rushing, never straining, just quietly drawing closer to itself across the ages. And after all that long, patient gathering, deep in the heart of the cloud, a gentle warmth finally kindles, soft at first, then steady, until at last a new star opens its eyes and begins to shine, quiet and sure, out into the dark. There's no struggle in it, no sudden spark of effort. It's the slowest, calmest kind of becoming there is, a thing that takes shape simply by letting itself be drawn softly inward, over and over, until the warmth arrives all on its own. Let yourself gather in that same gentle way now, drawing softly inward, in no hurry at all, letting your own quiet warmth kindle slowly from within. Let me tell you about the way whole families of stars are born together and drift slowly apart, because it's a tender thing to rest your mind on as you sink deeper. When a great cloud gives birth to stars, it rarely makes just one. More often, it makes a whole crowd of them at once, hundreds or even thousands of young stars, all kindling into light together, close and warm, like brothers and sisters sharing the same soft cradle. For a long while, they stay near one another, drifting through the galaxy as a loose and gentle company, keeping each other's dim early company in the dark. But over the long ages, ever so slowly, the family begins to spread out, each star wandering off along its own quiet path, drawn this way and that by the slow turning of the galaxy, until at last they're scattered far and wide across the sky, each one shining alone, no longer knowing its old companions. And yet somewhere out there, our own sun has siblings too, stars born from the very same cloud, long since drifted away to distant corners of the galaxy, still carrying, deep inside, the faint, quiet memory of the place where they all began. Let that soft thought hold you now, the gentle knowing that even the things that drift apart were once cradled close together, born of the same warm, quiet beginning. Let me tell you about the disk of dust and stone that circles a young star, because it's out of that soft, slow-turning ring that whole worlds are quietly made. When a star first kindles into light, it doesn't sit there alone in empty space. All around it, left over from the cloud that made it, there's a wide, flat disk of dust and gas and little grains of ice turning slowly, like the gentlest whirl of dust caught in a beam of afternoon light. And over long, unhurried ages, those countless tiny grains begin to brush up against one another ever so softly, sticking together a little at a time, growing from specks into pebbles, from pebbles into stones, from stones into great quiet mountains of rock, until at last, after all that patient gathering, whole planets take shape out of what was once no more than scattered dust. Everything you've ever stood on, every hill and shoreline and grassy field, began as that fine drifting powder turning slowly around a newborn star. There's no rush in it, no strain in, just the softest coming together, over and over, until a world is simply there, warm and round and turning in the light. Let that gentle thought settle into you now. The knowing that even the solid ground beneath your life was once the softest drifting dust, gathered slowly, patiently, into something whole. Let me tell you about how long a bit of light takes to escape from the heart of a star, because it's one of the slowest, most patient journeys in all the galaxy. Deep down in the center of a star like our sun, where the warmth is first made, a little spark of light is born. And you might think it simply shoots straight out into space, quick and easy. But no. Inside the star, everything is packed so close and thick that the light can hardly move at all. It travels the tiniest distance, then bumps softly into something and turns aside, then travels a little more and turns again, wandering this way and that, over and over, taking the slowest, most meandering path you could imagine. And by the time that light finally reaches the surface and steps out into the open dark, so much time has passed that the light warming your face on a bright afternoon may have begun its journey tens of thousands of years ago, deep in the star's quiet heart, long before anyone was here to feel it. It took its slow, unhurried time getting to you, and now here it is, gentle and warm, in no hurry at all. Let yourself move at that same soft, patient pace now, with nowhere to rush off to, nothing to hurry toward, just drifting gently along your own slow way. Let me tell you about the worlds that wander the galaxy with no star at all, because as lonely as it sounds, there's a deep, soft quiet in it. Most planets, like our own, circle close around a warm sun, turning through their days and nights in its light. But scattered out across the galaxy, there are other worlds, ones that drift entirely on their own, with no star to hold them, no sunrise ever breaking over them, just floating alone and free through the great dark between the stars. And you might think that would be a cold and troubled thing, but it isn't. Not really. Those wandering worlds move so slowly and so calmly through the dark, in perfect silence, never hurried, never disturbed, carrying their quiet with them wherever they go. Some of them may even keep a soft warmth deep inside, tucked far beneath their frozen surface, a gentle heat that lingers on for ages and ages in the dark. They ask for nothing and answer to nothing, just drifting on through the endless quiet, at peace in their own slow way. Let that thought hold you softly now. The idea that even something adrift and alone in the dark can be perfectly at rest, perfectly calm, carried along in a deep and gentle quiet, all its own. Let me tell you about the slow, slow wobble of our own world as it turns, because it's one of the gentlest motions there is, far too slow ever to feel. You know how a spinning top, as it turns, will lean and trace a wide, lazy circle before it ever settles. Well, our Earth does something very like that, only unimaginably slower. As it spins through its days and nights, it also leans and rolls in the softest, widest circle, so slow that a single one of those great wobbling turns takes around 26,000 years to come all the way around. 26,000 years for one gentle sweep. Whole ages of the world come and go in the time it takes our planet to make just one of those long, leaning turns. And because of it, the star we call the pole star, the steady one that marks the north, slowly changes over those long stretches of time, so that the ancestors of long ago looked up at a different quiet star to guide them home. It all happens far too slowly for anyone to feel. A motion so gentle that a whole human life passes without it ever seeming to move at all. Let your own body sway into that same imperceptible softness now, so still and so slow that you can barely tell you're moving at all, just leaning gently toward rest. Let me tell you about the far and distant cloud of icy things that wraps all the way around our sun, because it's one of the vastest, quietest places we know of. Far, far beyond the last of the planets, much farther out than cold and distant Neptune, there's a great round cloud of icy bodies, countless little frozen worlds, drifting slowly in the dark, so far from the sun that its light out there is no brighter than the faintest star. This cloud is so enormous that it wraps clear around our whole solar system like a soft, immense shell. And the things inside it move so slowly, so patiently, that a single one of them might take millions of years to circle the sun just once. Millions of years for a single, gentle loop. Out there, in that far and frozen quiet, nothing hurries, nothing changes, nothing stirs the deep and ancient calm. Every now and then, ever so rarely, one of those icy wanderers is nudged gently loose and begins the long, slow fall inward toward the sun, becoming, in time, one of the soft-tailed comets that drift through our skies. But most of them simply stay out there, turning slowly in the dark, keeping their long, patient watch at the very edge of everything. Let yourself rest in the calm of that faraway place now, far from all rush and noise, wrapped in the same deep, unhurried quiet that fills the outermost edges of the dark. Let me tell you about two stars that circle one another, turning together through the ages, because it's one of the tenderest sights the galaxy holds. We often picture stars as alone, each one hanging by itself in the dark. But so very many of them come in pairs, two stars bound gently together, turning slowly around one another, around and around, for billions upon billions of years. They lean into each other's soft pull, each one holding the other close, tracing wide and unhurried circles through the dark, never drifting apart, never coming crashing together, just turning in that slow and faithful dance across almost unimaginable spans of time. Sometimes one shines gold and the other a soft, quiet red. And any world that happened to circle them would see two suns rising and setting together, two gentle lights keeping each other company across the whole long life of the sky. There's something deeply reassuring in it, I think. The idea of two distant stars keeping faith with one another for ages beyond counting, neither one ever truly alone. Let that soft companionship settle over you now. The gentle thought of two far lights turning slowly together, keeping each other's quiet company through all the long and peaceful dark. Let me tell you about the great cobweb shape the galaxies make across the whole universe. Because as vast as it is, there's a soft and dreamy beauty in it. If you could pull far enough back to see the whole universe at once, farther than any eye could ever really reach, you'd find that the galaxies aren't scattered about at random. Instead, they gather along great, soft strands, long glowing threads of galaxies strung out across the dark, gathering here into gentle clusters, thinning there into wide and quiet spaces, all of it woven together into an enormous, delicate web, the softest, grandest lacework you could ever imagine. Whole galaxies, each with its hundreds of billions of stars, are no more than tiny points of light along those vast and drifting threads. And it all turns and flows so slowly, so gently, that across the whole life of a human being, it never seems to move at all. The universe, when you pull far enough back, looks less like something scattered and broken, and more like something quietly woven. Soft strands of light spread out in a pattern too large and too slow for us ever to see move. Let that grand and gentle pattern hold you now, the thought of all those far lights woven softly together. And let yourself be one small, quiet thread in something vast and calm and beautiful. Let me tell you about how long it takes our whole galaxy to turn just once, because it's a span of time so vast and so slow that resting your mind on it is like sinking into the deepest kind of calm. Our galaxy, that great slow pinwheel of stars, is always turning, carrying our sun and all its worlds along with it in a wide and stately circle around the distant center. But it turns so slowly, so gently, that a single one of those grand rotations takes something like 230 million years to come all the way around. 230 million years for one slow turn. The last time our sun was where it is now in that great circle, the world below was a wholly different place, long before there was anyone here to look up and wonder at the stars. And still, the galaxy turns, patient and unhurried, in no more of a rush now than it was then, carrying us softly along on that vast, slow wheel, without our ever feeling the smallest bit of motion. We are turning even now, you and I, drifting through that enormous circle, and it feels for all the world like perfect stillness. Let yourself be carried along on that great, slow turning now, moving without effort, without haste, held gently in a motion so calm and so patient that it feels exactly like rest. Let me tell you about the tug of the tides, the gentle pull that runs between worlds, because it's one of the softest forces in all the galaxy, and it works so slowly and so patiently that it's a lovely thing to rest your mind against. You know how the sea rises and falls along the shore, coming in and slipping out again, twice a day, every day, without fail? That great slow breathing of the ocean isn't the water deciding anything on its own. It's the moon, far off in the dark, reaching across all that empty space and giving the sea the gentlest possible tug as it passes overhead. The moon doesn't grab or yank. It just leans ever so softly, and the whole ocean leans back toward it, gathering into a wide, low swell that follows the moon around the world like a shadow made of water. And here's the tender part. That same pull runs both ways. Just as the moon lifts our seas, the earth is forever tugging back on the moon, holding it close, smoothing its motion, the two of them leaning toward one another across 250,000 miles of dark, never once letting go. It's been that way for billions of years, This slow, patient conversation between the tides, and it'll go on long after tonight. The sea rising and falling as gently as your own chest rises and falls right now. Let that easy rhythm carry you now, the slow in and out of the tides, the soft give and take of two worlds leaning toward one another, and let your breath fall into that same unhurried tide. Let me tell you about how the moon is drifting away from us, just a little each year, because as strange as it sounds, it's one of the calmest, most unhurried motions there is. The moon hasn't always been where it is tonight. Long, long ago, it hung much closer to the earth, big and bright and low in the ancient sky. But with every slow turn of the tides, with every gentle leaning of the sea toward the moon, a tiny bit of energy passes between them, and the moon eases outward, drifting away from us by about 1.5 inches every year. That's roughly the width of two of your fingers held side by side, no more than that, over the course of a whole year. You could never feel it. No one who has ever lived has watched the moon move even the smallest visible step farther off. And yet, patient as always, it keeps drifting, so that the moon your great-great-grandchildren's grandchildren look up at will hang just the tiniest bit farther away than the one glowing softly outside your window tonight. There's no rush in it, no sense of loss, just the gentlest possible parting, spread out so thin across so much time that it feels, for all the world, like the moon is standing perfectly still, keeping faithful watch over us the way it always has. Let that slow, soft drifting settle over you now, a motion so gentle and so patient that it feels exactly like staying. And let yourself rest in the quiet, knowing that some things move too slowly ever to be a leaving. Let me tell you about the warmth that still lingers deep inside our own world, because it's a soft, hidden thing, and there's comfort in knowing it's always there beneath you. When you lie here tonight, resting on the solid ground, held up by the floor and the earth beneath it, you might think of the world below you as cold, hard stone all the way down. But it isn't. Deep, deep beneath the surface, farther down than any of us will ever go, the heart of our world is warm, and has been warm for billions of years. Some of that warmth is left over from the very beginning, from the days when the earth first gathered itself together out of dust and stone, and all that gathering left behind a deep, slow heat that has never fully faded. And some of it comes from tiny grains scattered through the rock, quietly giving off their gentle warmth, drop by drop, across ages beyond counting. It's this soft inner warmth that keeps the deep parts of our world slowly stirring, that lifts the mountains up so gradually you'd never see it, that keeps the whole planet alive and gently moving beneath your feet. And you're resting right on top of all of it now, cradled on a warm and living world, held up by ground that has been quietly keeping its heat since long before the first living thing ever drew breath. Let that deep, steady warmth hold you now, rising up softly from the heart of the world to meet you, and let yourself sink toward it, warm and safe and held. Let me tell you about the great slow rivers of stars that wind their way through the space around our galaxy, because they're some of the gentlest, dreamiest things out there in the dark. Sometimes, long ago, a little cluster of stars, a small companion drifting near our galaxy, comes wandering just a bit too close. And rather than any sudden crash or scattering, what happens is soft and slow and beautiful. Our galaxy's gentle pull begins to draw that little cluster out, stretching it, easing its stars into a long, thin ribbon that curls and winds its way across the sky. These are called stellar streams, and they're like the faint trails left behind by something that passed by long ago. Great looping rivers made of stars, drifting silently around the outer reaches of the galaxy. Each one is the soft remains of some smaller family of stars that came near and slowly, gently, became part of us. Its stars strung out now into a long and peaceful current, still drifting along the path it took ages and ages ago. If you could see them glowing out there, you'd find our galaxy wrapped in these delicate, looping ribbons, faint as breath on a cold morning, each one a quiet memory of some small wanderer that came home. Let those long, soft rivers of light carry you now, winding slow and gentle through the dark, and let your own thoughts stream out just as softly, drifting along a calm and easy current toward sleep. Let me tell you about how much of the sky is quietly hidden from us behind the dust of our own galaxy, because there's a cozy, tucked-in feeling to it that's lovely to rest against. When you look up at the band of the Milky Way on a dark night, you might notice that it isn't a smooth, even glow. There are dark patches in it, soft, shadowy lanes where the light seems to thin out and fade. Those aren't empty places at all. They're great, gentle clouds of dust, drifting between us and the far-off stars, soft as smoke, thick enough to veil whole crowds of stars behind them. And because we live tucked inside one of the galaxy's spiral arms, surrounded on every side by this soft haze, there are enormous stretches of our own galaxy we simply can't see from here, hidden away behind those dusty curtains. For a long time, people wondered what lay beyond them, on the far side of all that drifting dust. It's a bit like sitting by a window on a foggy evening, knowing the whole wide world is still out there, going gently on, even though the soft gray haze keeps most of it politely out of sight. There's something comforting in that, I think, the idea that we live wrapped in a soft veil, that not everything is laid bare and glaring, that so much of the galaxy rests quietly behind a gentle curtain of dust. Let that cozy, hidden feeling wrap around you now, tucked snugly inside your own small corner of the galaxy, with the soft haze drawn like a curtain against the vast and drifting dark. Let me tell you about how the whole galaxy is far heavier than all its stars put together, because there's a deep and gentle mystery in it that's soothing to turn over as you drift. When astronomers watch the way our galaxy turns, the way the stars far out on its edges swing slowly around the center, they find something curious and lovely. The stars move as though there's far more holding them than we can actually see, as though the whole bright pinwheel of stars is only a small part of something much larger and much quieter, wrapped all around it. There's something out there, spread through and around the galaxy, that we can't see and can't quite touch, but whose soft, steady embrace holds all the stars in their slow and patient circling. We've given it a gentle, humble name, simply calling it the dark, since we know so little about it, only that it's there, cradling the galaxy, keeping everything turning smoothly through the ages. And isn't there something restful in that? The idea that the galaxy is held together by something unseen, something calm and vast and quiet, a soft, invisible embrace far greater than all the glowing stars we know. So much of what holds our world together is like that, unseen and unnoticed, working softly in the background, asking nothing of us at all. Let that quiet, unseen embrace hold you now, vast and gentle and sure, cradling you the way it cradles all the far and drifting stars. And let yourself trust it and rest. Let me tell you about the way a whole planet can turn on its side, tilting gently as it drifts around its star. Because there's a soft and dreamy stillness to it out there in the cold and distant dark. Far, far from the sun, past the ringed worlds, there's a pale blue-green planet that rolls along its slow orbit, lying almost completely on its side, tipped over so far that it seems to be lazing along the way. You might drift on your back in still water, gazing up at the sky, and because it lies over that way, its seasons are the longest and strangest and most unhurried of any world we know. Each of its poles spends decades leaning toward the distant sun, bathed in a long, soft, dim daylight, and then decades more leaning away, wrapped in a long and quiet night. Seasons that stretch on for years and years and years at a time. There's no rush out there, no hurried turning of spring to summer to fall, just enormous, patient seasons, slow as anything, unfolding across that tipped-over world in the deep and gentle cold. It drifts along on its side, calm and easy, in no hurry to right itself, perfectly content to laze its slow way around the sun exactly as it is. Let yourself lean gently over into that same easy stillness now, tipping softly toward rest, in no hurry at all to hold yourself upright, just drifting along on your back, through the calm and quiet dark. Let me tell you about the soft glow that sometimes fills the sky in the deep of the polar night, because it's one of the tenderest, most peaceful lights the world has to offer. Far up toward the top and the bottom of our world, in the lands where winter brings a long and gentle darkness, the sky sometimes begins to glow, slowly, softly, without a sound. Great curtains of pale green and violet light come drifting across the dark, rippling and swaying as though some quiet wind were stirring them, though there's no wind up that high at all. This is the light we call the aurora, and it's born of the softest meeting imaginable, of tiny gentle pieces of the sun drifting all the way across space and brushing, ever so lightly, against the top of our air. Where they touch, the sky itself begins to shine, glowing in slow, silent waves that hang and shimmer and fade and gather again, painting the long winter night in colors soft as breath. People who live beneath those lights say there's nothing quite so peaceful as lying back in the cold and the quiet and simply watching them drift, hour after hour, as the whole sky glows and stirs in perfect silence overhead. Let those soft, silent curtains of light drift across your mind now, glowing gently, swaying slow and quiet, and let yourself lie back beneath them, still and calm and wrapped in their tender glow, drifting softly down toward sleep. Let me tell you about the way a shadow falls across a world, because even something as simple as a shadow becomes a slow and gentle thing out there among the planets. Here on the ground, a shadow slips past you in an instant, gone almost before you notice it. But out in space, on the great scale of worlds and moons, a shadow can take its own sweet time. When a moon passes between its planet and the sun, it lays a soft round patch of shade across the planet's face, and that patch of shade goes drifting slowly along, unhurried, taking hours to cross from one edge to the other. Anyone standing beneath it would see the daylight dim, ever so gently, as the shadow slid overhead, and then brighten again, just as gently as it moved on. There's no rush to it, no sudden dark, just a slow, soft dimming, like a cloud passing lazily in front of the sun on a warm afternoon. And then the light returning, easy and calm, as though the world had only closed its eyes for a moment and opened them again. Somewhere out there, right now, one of those soft round shadows is drifting across some distant world, slow and quiet, dimming a patch of alien daylight for no one in particular, and then letting it glow once more. Let yourself dim down that same gentle way now, softly and slowly, like daylight fading beneath a passing shadow, in no hurry at all, sinking a little deeper toward the quiet. Let me tell you about the way ice can turn straight into mist out in the cold and airless dark, because it's one of the softest little vanishings the galaxy knows. On a comet, or on some frozen little world far from the warmth of any sun, the ice doesn't melt into puddles the way it would on a warm windowsill here at home. Out there, when a bit of sunlight finally reaches it, the ice simply lifts away, turning from something solid straight into a soft, thin haze, without ever becoming water at all. It rises off the frozen surface in the gentlest possible way, a quiet breath of vapor drifting up into the dark, so slow and so soft you'd hardly know it was happening. Whole tales of comets are made this way, from ice quietly breathing itself away into space, spreading out into long, pale veils of mist that catch the far light of the sun. There's no drama in it, no boiling or bubbling, just a slow and silent fading, a solid thing becoming a soft thing, and drifting gently off into the quiet. And when the little world moves far enough from the sun again, and the cold settles back in, the drifting stops, and everything that's left goes still once more, patient and frozen, waiting for the next slow, gentle thaw. Let your own held thoughts lift away like that now, softly, without a sound, turning from something heavy into something light and thin, drifting off into the dark and leaving you calm and clear and still. Let me tell you about the great slow storms that turn on the distant giant worlds, because as huge as they are, they move with a deep and dreamy calm that's lovely to rest your mind on. On the largest planet of all, that enormous striped world far out past the middle of things, there's a storm that has been turning gently for hundreds of years. A vast, slow swirl of soft red clouds so wide you could set our whole world down inside it and still have room to spare. And yet for all its size, it doesn't rage the way a storm here does, all sudden and sharp and gone in an afternoon. It turns slowly, patiently, wheeling round and round in the same soft place, century after century, a great calm eye of color drifting along in the planet's wide bands of cloud. From far enough away, it doesn't even look like a storm at all, just a soft rosy swirl painted onto the face of that giant world, turning as slowly and as steadily as a leaf caught in the gentlest of eddies. All those long years, it has simply gone on turning, in no hurry to blow itself out, in no hurry to do anything but drift and swirl and turn, round and round and round, through all the quiet centuries out there in the cold. Let your own thoughts wheel down into that same slow, easy circling now, turning gently, softly, round and round, in no hurry to arrive anywhere, just drifting calm and slow towards sleep. Let me tell you about the quiet places where a planet's warmth meets the cold of space, high up at the very top of its sky, because there's a soft and dreamy stillness to that boundary that's lovely to picture. Every world with any air at all has a place, far above its surface, where that air grows thinner and thinner and thinner, until at last it simply fades away into the emptiness beyond. It isn't a sharp edge, not a wall or a line you could point to. It's the gentlest kind of fading, the air growing softer and sparser with every mile, until the last few wandering wisps of it drift off into the dark, and there's nothing left but space. Up at that soft boundary, everything is calm and slow and quiet. The busy weather of the world below, the winds and the clouds and the falling rain, all of that is far beneath. And up here, there's only a great and gentle hush, the last thin breath of a planet reaching up toward the stars and letting go. It's a peaceful place, that high and quiet edge, where a world stops being a world and space begins. And the crossing between them is as soft and as gradual as falling asleep. Let yourself drift up toward that same soft boundary now, where the busy day grows thinner and thinner behind you, fading gently away until there's nothing left but the calm and quiet dark, and you drifting easily across into rest. Let me tell you about the faint rings that wrap around worlds other than the famous ringed one, because it turns out that lovely, delicate crown isn't quite as rare as we once thought. For the longest time, we imagined only a single planet wore rings, that one bright, banded world with its wide and glorious halo of ice. But when we looked closer, gently and patiently, at the other giant worlds out there in the cold, we found that they wear soft rings too, only fainter, thinner, harder to see. Rings so dim and delicate that they're little more than a faint gray whisper against the dark, a slender thread of dust and tiny stones circling round and round in the quiet. They don't blaze and shine the way the great bright rings do. They just drift there, soft and shy, barely more than a shadow of a ring, turning slowly and patiently around their worlds, where hardly anyone would ever notice them. And there's something tender in that, in the thought of all those quiet, half-hidden crowns turning gently in the dark, lovely whether or not a single soul is there to see them shine. Let that soft, half-hidden loveliness settle over you now. The quiet thought that beautiful things can drift along unseen and unhurried, asking nothing, simply turning gently in the dark, exactly as they are. Let me tell you about how a planet's day can be longer than its year, because it's one of the strangest, dreamiest little twists the galaxy has to offer. And it's soft and easy to turn over as you rest. There's a small, hot world close into the sun that turns on itself so very slowly and hurries around the sun so quickly that one full turn of the planet, one single day upon it, lasts even longer than the time it takes to circle the sun completely. Imagine that for a moment, softly. A day so long and so slow that a whole year passes before it's through. The sun creeping across that world sky at the laziest pace you could dream of, taking ages just to rise, and ages more to cross the sky, and ages again to set. There's no rush there at all, no swift turning of morning into noon into night. Just an enormous, unhurried day, slower than the year itself, unfolding at a pace so gentle it hardly seems to move. The sun hangs there in that pale sky, drifting so slowly you'd swear it had decided to stay a while, in no hurry to go anywhere, content to linger through a day that outlasts the very year it belongs to. Let your own sense of time stretch and soften like that now. The minutes growing long and slow and easy. No hurry anywhere. The whole quiet night stretching out gently before you with all the unhurried room in the world to rest. Let me tell you about the soft, pale light that lingers in the sky long after the sun goes down, because it's one of the gentlest things the evening has to offer. When the sun slips below the edge of the world, the day doesn't end all at once. For a good while afterward, the sky holds on to a soft and fading glow, a pale wash of gold and rose and deepening blue that lingers gently at the horizon, in no hurry to give way to the dark. This is the light we call twilight, and it comes from the last of the sun's rays still brushing high across the upper air, long after the sun itself has gone from view, scattering softly down to us through the quiet gathering dusk. It's the tenderest light of the whole day, that long, slow fading, when the world grows hushed and the colors soften, and the first faint stars begin to show themselves, one by one, in the deepening blue overhead. Everything slows down in that light. The birds settle, the wind eases, and the whole world seems to take a long, slow breath and let it out again, sinking gently toward the quiet of the night. Let yourself sink into that same soft twilight now, the long, slow fading of the day, the color softening, the light growing gentle and dim, and let the quiet gather around you the way it gathers over the darkening world. Let me tell you about how the light of the stars gets bent, ever so gently, as it passes close by heavy things in space, because it's one of the softest, most graceful bendings there is. When starlight travels across the galaxy toward us, it doesn't always come in a perfectly straight line. If it happens to pass close by something very heavy, some massive star or great gathered cloud of worlds, that heaviness gives the light the gentlest little tug, bending its path just slightly, curving it round in a long, soft arc, the way a stream curves gently around a stone. The light doesn't mind. It simply follows the soft new curve laid out before it and carries calmly on its way, bent a little from where it began, but never slowed, never stopped, still traveling patiently toward whoever might be waiting to catch it. Sometimes that gentle bending gathers scattered starlight together and brings it to us brighter than it would have been, a far and distant light quietly magnified by the soft curve of space itself. There's a real tenderness in it, in the thought of the whole of space leaning ever so gently on the light that crosses it, guiding it along in long and graceful curves through the dark. Let your own thoughts follow that same soft curve now, bending gently, easily, wherever the quiet leads them, in no hurry to travel straight, content to drift along the calm and graceful arc that carries you down toward sleep. Let me tell you about the way a distant world can hold a whole ocean hidden beneath its ice, because it's one of the coziest, most tucked away thoughts the galaxy has to offer. Far out among the moons of the giant planets, there are little frozen worlds wrapped all the way around in shells of solid ice, pale and cold and still on the outside. But deep beneath that ice, held snug and dark and warm by the slow, gentle squeezing of the giant world nearby, there are oceans, real ones, vast and quiet and full of softly moving water, tucked away where no light has ever reached. Imagine that for a moment. A whole hidden sea, wrapped safe beneath miles of ice, turning and drifting in the dark, kept warm from within while the cold of space presses gently all around the outside. There's something so snug in that, so tucked in and safe. An entire ocean sleeping quietly beneath its blanket of ice, far from any sun, warmed softly from below and asking nothing of the cold, dark world above it. It just drifts there, hidden and calm, a deep and gentle sea keeping its own quiet company through all the long ages, safe beneath the ice. Let yourself feel that snug and hidden warmth now, tucked safely beneath your own soft blanket, the way that quiet sea is tucked beneath its ice. held warm and still and safe against the gentle dark, drifting slowly down toward sleep. Let me tell you about the way the whole galaxy is turning through a fog of its own quiet history, because there's something so gentle in the thought of it. Everywhere our sun drifts, everywhere the stars slowly wheel, they're moving through a soft haze of the very stuff they were made from, gas and dust and the faint remembering of stars that came before. Nothing out there is truly starting fresh. Every new star gathers itself from the gentle leftovers of the old ones, the way a story picks up threads from all the stories told before it. There's no sharp beginning anywhere, no clean first page, just a soft, endless continuing, one quiet thing folding gently into the next, the galaxy carrying its whole long past along with it wherever it slowly turns. And you're part of that same soft continuing, made from what came before, resting here tonight so that something gentle can come after. Let yourself rest in that easy continuing now. No need to begin anything, no need to finish anything, just drifting along in the middle of a long, soft story that was here before you and will hold you gently while you sleep. Let me tell you about the little wandering worlds we call asteroids, and how quietly most of them keep to themselves, because it's a softer picture than the stories usually let on. Out between two of the planets, there's a wide, slow belt of them, thousands upon thousands of tumbling stones, some no bigger than a pebble, some as broad as a whole country. And you might imagine them crowded and jostling, bumping and crashing all day long. But the truth is far gentler than that. They're spread so wide, with so much calm, dark space between each one, that if you stood on any single asteroid and looked around, you'd most likely see nothing else at all, just your own quiet stone drifting alone through the soft black, with the nearest neighbor so far off, it would be no more than another faint point of light. They turn there patiently, each one keeping its own slow company, in a belt that only sounds crowded from far away. Up close, it's one of the roomiest, most peaceful places you could ever imagine. Let that roominess settle over you now, all that soft space with nothing pressing in, and let your own thoughts spread out into it, unhurried and far apart, each one drifting gently by itself with plenty of quiet room to rest. Let me tell you about how the smallest worlds hold on so lightly to everything they carry, because there's a soft, easy tenderness in it. On a little moon or a tumbling stone out there, the pull downward is so gentle, so faint, that a pebble you nudge loose would take the longest, slowest time to settle back down. You could toss a handful of dust into the air and watch it drift and hover, sinking so slowly it would be like watching snow fall in a dream. Nothing rushes to the ground out there. Everything settles softly, in its own sweet time, held by a pull so light it feels almost like a suggestion rather than a rule. There's a kind of grace in that gentleness. In a world so small, it barely asks anything of the things resting on its surface, letting them come down soft and slow whenever they're ready, never pulling, never hurrying, just quietly waiting to catch them. Let yourself settle that same slow, gentle way now, sinking down into the bed so softly and so unhurried that you can barely feel yourself arriving, held by nothing more than the lightest, kindest pull toward rest. Let me tell you about the way a comet only wakes up when it comes close to the sun, because it's a soft and sleepy little thought all its own. Out in the far cold dark, a comet is nothing but a quiet lump of ice and dust, frozen solid sleeping deeply, drifting along its long, slow path without a stir for hundreds or even thousands of years. It asks for nothing out there. It simply sleeps its long, cold sleep in the dark. And only when its slow, wandering path finally carries it back in toward the warmth of the sun does it gently begin to stir, the ice softening, a soft haze rising up around it, a long, faint tail unfurling behind it, like a sleeper slowly stretching after a good, long rest. Then, its brief, warm visit over, it drifts back out into the cold and quietly falls asleep again, carrying its faithful, patient rhythm through all the ages, awake for just a little while, asleep for a long, long time. Let yourself drift toward that same deep sleep now, the long and easy kind, letting the warmth of the moment soften you and the quiet carry you gently out and away, in no hurry at all to stir again. Let me tell you about how gently the largest planet keeps watch over the rest of us, because it's a comforting sort of thought to hold as you drift. Far out beyond us turns a great giant world, so vast it could hold every other planet tucked inside it with room to spare. And yet for all its size, it turns out there so slowly and so calmly, minding its wide circle around the sun. And with its great heaviness, it draws in many of the stray stones and wandering bits of ice that might otherwise come drifting our way, gathering them gently toward itself, quietly tidying the paths of the inner worlds. It's a little like a big, calm presence at the edge of things, sweeping softly, keeping the quiet, letting the smaller worlds turn on in peace. There's real comfort in picturing it out there, huge and slow and steady, a gentle guardian at the far edge of the light. Let that steady presence settle over you now, the feeling of something large and calm keeping watch out there in the dark, so that you can let go completely, safe and unbothered, and sink down softly into sleep. Let me tell you about the soft, slow way light fades as it spreads across the dark, because it's a gentle thing to rest your mind against. When a star sends its light out into space, that light doesn't hold itself bright forever. The farther it travels, the more it spreads, the softer and dimmer it grows, until a star that would dazzle you up close arrives at your eye as nothing more than the faintest, quietest little point, delicate as candlelight seen from across a great dark field. And there's something so peaceful in that gentle fading, in the way the whole galaxy hushes its brightest voices down to whispers simply by the width of the space between. Nothing arrives here loud. Everything comes to us softened by distance, dimmed and quieted, and made gentle by the long, calm journey through the dark. Let your own thoughts soften that same way now, growing dimmer and fainter as they drift farther from you, quieting down to the softest whispers, until they're no louder than a distant star, easy to let go of, easy to release and to sleep. Let me tell you about the way whole worlds can share the very same path around their star, because it's one of the tenderest little arrangements out there. Sometimes, along the long circle a planet travels, there are certain gentle, balanced spots, quiet places where small stones and bits of rock can gather and ride along, held there softly, drifting the same slow circle year after year, without ever drawing closer or falling behind. They travel together, the great world and its little quiet companions, each keeping to their own calm place along the shared path, journeying side by side through all the long ages, neither crowding the other, neither straying away. There's a kind of easy companionship in it, a soft agreement to travel the same road at the same gentle pace, keeping one another distant company across the enormous quiet. Let yourself feel that easy companionship now, the soft sense of traveling gently alongside all the quiet things around you, each in its own calm place. No crowding, no hurry, just drifting the same peaceful path down into rest. Let me tell you about how thin and delicate the air of some far worlds really is, because there's a soft, dreamy hush in the thought of it. On certain small and distant worlds, what little air there is spreads so faint and so thin that it barely counts as air at all, just the gentlest breath of gas clinging softly to the surface, so light it hardly stirs, so quiet it hardly whispers. No wind to speak of, no weather rushing through, just a still and delicate hush lying gently over everything. A silence so complete and so soft that even the faintest sound would feel like an intrusion. Imagine standing in that perfect stillness, in air so thin it's almost the memory of air, where nothing moves and nothing hurries, and the quiet lies over the whole world like a smooth and gentle blanket, undisturbed for age after age. Let that same deep hush settle over you now, still and soft and complete, the quiet lying gently over everything inside you. Nothing stirring, nothing rushing, just a smooth and peaceful stillness carrying you down towards sleep. Let me tell you about the way the color of a star tells its whole gentle story, because there's something soothing in how quietly it speaks. A star never has to say a word about itself, and yet just by its color, it tells you everything. Whether it burns hot and blue and quick, or cool and red and slow, whether it's young and bright or old and gentle, all of it written softly in the shade of its light. And across the whole galaxy those quiet colors glow, each star telling its own soft story simply by shining. A warm red here, a soft gold there, a cool white further off, a whole scattered field of gentle little lights, each quietly being exactly what it is, asking nothing, explaining nothing, just glowing its own true color into the calm dark. Let yourself simply be that way now. No need to explain anything, no need to say a word, just resting here softly and being exactly what you are, glowing gently and quietly the way the stars do, content and calm and easy in the dark. Let me tell you about how the very first light in the whole universe had to wait a long, patient while before it could travel freely, because there's a deep and gentle calm in the thought of it. In the earliest ages, when everything was warm and close and softly glowing, the light couldn't yet stream out across the dark. It drifted and scattered, held gently in place, waiting, until at last the whole young universe cooled and softened just enough. And then, all at once and everywhere, the light was set gently free to travel. And travel it did, out across all the long ages, that first soft glow still drifting quietly through space even now. The oldest, gentlest light there is, patient beyond all imagining, carrying the calm of that first quiet morning down through every age that followed. Let yourself rest in that same deep patience now. No need to hurry anything along. No need to reach the end of anything. Just waiting softly and calmly, the way that first light waited, content in the quiet, drifting gently towards sleep. Let me tell you about the way a moon can slowly smooth itself round over the ages, because it's a soft and patient thought to hold as you settle. When a little world first gathers itself together, it can be lumpy and rough, all uneven edges and quiet crags. But over the long, long ages, with its own gentle pull working softly and endlessly, it eases itself rounder and rounder, smoothing its own edges down the way a stone in a slow stream is worn gently round by the patient water. There's no rush in it, no effort, just the soft and steady work of a very long time, slowly settling a rough little world into a smooth and gentle sphere, calm and round and quiet, at ease at last with its own soft shape. Let yourself soften and settle that same gentle way now, all your own rough edges easing quietly smooth, your whole self growing calm and round and restful, in no hurry at all, worn gently toward peace by the soft and patient quiet of the night. Let me tell you about how the sun's warmth reaches out just far enough and no farther, because there's a cozy, tucked-in feeling in the thought of it. The sun pours out its gentle warmth in every direction, and that warmth reaches out across the inner worlds, softening the cold, before it slowly fades away into the deep chill of the outer dark. And somewhere out there is a soft and gentle boundary, a quiet edge, where the warmth grows faint and the true cold of space begins. And inside that boundary, the little worlds turn calm and mild, held snugly in the sun's soft reach. We drift along inside that gentle warmth, tucked comfortably within the sun's kind circle, neither too near nor too far, resting easy in the mildest, coziest part of all that vast, cold dark. Let yourself feel how snugly you're held now, tucked warm inside your own gentle circle of comfort, the cold kept softly at bay, everything around you mild and easy and kind, holding you gently as you drift down into sleep. Let me tell you about the way the stars we see are only the nearest little handful of all there truly are, because there's a soft and peaceful humbleness in the thought. When you gaze up on the clearest, darkest night and take in every star your eyes can hold, you're really seeing only the closest few, just the gentle near neighbors, a tiny scattered handful out of the countless billions that fill our galaxy. All the rest are simply too far and too soft to see, glowing quietly away beyond the reach of your eyes. An enormous, gentle multitude, shining calmly on whether we ever glimpse them or not. And there's such peace in that, in knowing how much soft light there is out there beyond what we can see, glowing on faithfully in the calm dark, asking nothing of us, needing no witness at all. Let that easy peace settle over you now, the gentle knowing that so much soft light goes on glowing quietly beyond your sight, needing nothing from you, so that you can let your own eyes rest and let the seeing go and drift softly down into sleep. Let me tell you about the way a passing traveler can be gently swung along by a great world's soft pull, because it's one of the kindest little handoffs the galaxy has to offer. When a small wanderer drifts in close to one of the big, slow planets, it doesn't crash or scatter or come to any harm. Instead, the planet's gentle pull takes hold of it, ever so softly, and swings it along, lending it a little of its own slow motion and easing it on its way, sending it drifting off towards some far part of the dark with a bit more speed than it had before. It's a soft and generous thing, really. One great slow world quietly passing a little of its own steady momentum along to a passing stranger, asking nothing in return. Just a gentle helping hand offered out there in the vast and patient dark. And then a soft letting go. Let yourself be carried along that same easy way now. Some gentle current taking hold of you softly and easing you onward, lending you all the slow, calm momentum you need. so that you don't have to push or steer or try at all. Just drift where the quiet carries you, gently handed along toward sleep. Let me tell you about the way our own galaxy and its nearest great neighbor are slowly drifting toward one another. Because for all it sounds like a grand event, it's really the gentlest, slowest coming together there is. Far off across the dark, another whole galaxy, a vast and glowing pinwheel, much like our own, is easing its way toward us, drifting nearer over spans of time so enormous that the mind can barely hold them. And someday, long past any night we'll ever see, the two great spirals will meet and fold softly together, their stars sliding gently past one another with so much room between them that hardly any will ever touch. Just two great clouds of soft light merging slowly into one, calm and unhurried, over billions of quiet years. There's no crash in it, no shattering, only a long, slow, gentle mingling, like two slow rivers of light easing at last into the same wide sea. Let that slow and peaceful merging settle over you now, the soft knowing that even the greatest things out there come together without any hurry or harm, drifting gently into one another over ages upon ages, so that you can let your own edges soften and blur, easing quietly toward rest. Let me tell you about how long a single day lasts up on the moon, because there's a deep and dreamy slowness to it that's lovely to rest your mind against. Here on our own world, the sun rises and sets in the space of a day, up and over and down again, quick and familiar. But up on the moon, everything moves so much more slowly, and a single long day up there, one soft sunrise to the next, lasts about as long as a whole month does for us. Imagine it, a morning that takes days to arrive, the sunlight creeping so slowly across those quiet gray plains that you could watch it for hours and hardly see it move. And then a long, long afternoon, and an evening that fades so gently it seems it might never end. And then a night just as long and just as still. Nothing hurries up there. The light comes and goes at its own deep, unhurried pace, patient as anything in all the sky. Let your own sense of time stretch out into that same long slowness now. The night ahead of you growing wide and unhurried, the hours softening and spreading out. No rush to reach the morning. All the time in the world simply to lie here and rest, slow and easy as a long lunar day. Before we drift on a little further, let me leave you with the softest little nudge, and then I'll ask nothing more of you tonight. If you found some quiet here, some easing of the day, you can just let this play on gently when it ends, one soft story drifting into the next, so the calm never has to break, and you never have to reach for anything. Let it carry on for you, the way one quiet wave rolls softly into another, so you can keep on drifting without ever having to stir. And whenever you wake, gently and in your own good time, if a little more of this soft quiet would be welcome on some other night, you might quietly subscribe. So there's always a calm harbor here waiting for you whenever you need to drift out past the rooftops and into the gentle dark again. But that's a thought for the waking world. For now, there's nothing at all to do but rest. Let me tell you about the way the stars seem to shimmer and twinkle when we look up at them, because the reason behind it is far softer than you might think. Out there in the deep, a star's light shines perfectly steady, a calm and even glow that never wavers at all. It's only when that light finally reaches us, sinking down through the soft, moving blanket of our own air, that it begins to shimmer, the way a candle's reflection trembles gently on the surface of a pond. All those little warm and cool currents drifting through the sky above you nudge the starlight this way and that, just a touch. And so the star seems to dance and sparkle for us, a soft trembling of light that isn't really the star at all, but only our own gentle air breathing softly between us and the deep. The twinkle is a kind of quiet greeting, the sky's own soft breath brushing across a faraway light. Let your own gaze soften at the thought of it now. The whole sky breathing gently above you, every far light shimmering softly through the calm and drifting air. And let your eyes grow heavy and still. No need to hold on to any single point of light, just letting them all blur softly together into one warm and gentle glow. Let me tell you about the way a shooting star shower comes back around to us each year, faithful as the seasons, because there's a quiet comfort in how reliably it returns. All along our world's long, slow path around the sun, there are certain soft stretches of space strewn with tiny drifting grains, the gentle crumbs left behind by some old passing comet. And every year, right on time, our world comes drifting back through the very same patch, and those little grains slip softly into our sky and streak it with quiet light. The same gentle show returning on the same gentle nights, year after year after year. People have looked up and watched it for longer than anyone can remember. The same soft shower arriving faithfully each time, a quiet promise the sky keeps without ever being asked, gentle and dependable as the turning of the year itself. Let that easy faithfulness settle over you now, the soft knowing that some lovely things return all on their own, right on time, without any effort from you at all, so that you can let go of holding on to anything and simply trust the quiet to come around again, as it always does. Let me tell you about the way a small spent star can go on glowing softly for longer than we can even imagine, cooling ever so slowly in the dark. When a gentle star like our own finally lets go of its last soft breath, it leaves behind a small, warm ember, a quiet little core of a thing that shines on faintly with the last of its stored-up warmth. And then, over spans of time so vast they make the whole age of everything seem short, that little ember cools, so slowly, so patiently, fading by the gentlest degrees from warm to cool to the softest dim glow, taking longer to cool than the universe has yet had time to run. Out there right now are countless of these quiet embers, each one glowing faintly on, cooling by the tiniest whisper of a degree across the ages, in no hurry whatsoever to go fully dark, simply resting in the deep and letting their warmth ease softly away. Let your own warmth ease away just that gently now. Not all at once, but softly, by the smallest degrees. The day's last heat drifting slowly out of you as you settle, cooling toward the calm and restful quiet, the way a little star cools out in the patient dark, with all the time in the world. Let me tell you about the way the pole star hasn't always been the one that holds still, and won't always be, because there's a soft and dreamy slowness in the thought. Our world turns like a great, slow spinning top, and just like a top, it wobbles ever so gently as it goes, tracing out one enormous, lazy circle over many thousands of years. And so the particular star that happens to sit right above our turning point, the quiet one that seems to hold still while all the others wheel around it, slowly changes across the ages. Long, long ago, it was a different star that held that steady place. And far in the future, it will be another one again. the honor passing gently from star to star over spans of thousands upon thousands of years, so slowly that across a whole human life, you'd never notice it shift at all. The still point drifts, softly, patiently, in its own vast and unhurried time. Let yourself rest in that gentle drifting now. The soft knowing that even the fixed and steady things change so slowly they might as well be still. So there's nothing you need to hold in place, nothing to keep watch over, just the slow and patient turning carrying you quietly onward while you sleep. Let me tell you about the soft, faint light that reaches us from the very farthest things we can see, because it's one of the most peaceful thoughts to end on. When you look out toward the deepest, most distant reaches of the dark, the light arriving from out there is unimaginably old, having drifted softly across the whole long age of the universe just to reach your eyes tonight. It set out when everything was young, long before there was any world for it to fall upon, and it has been traveling patiently ever since, growing softer and gentler with every passing age, until at last, tonight, the very tail end of that ancient journey settles quietly over you. There's such deep peace in it, in knowing that the oldest, softest light there is has come all this long way, only to rest gently on a quiet room, on a soft pillow, on your own closing eyes. Let that ancient, gentle light settle over you now, warm and soft and unimaginably patient, having traveled all this way through all that time, just to be here in this quiet with you, asking nothing, simply glowing softly at the end of its long, long journey, the way you've come softly to the end of your own long day. And now there's nothing left to do, nothing left to think, nothing left to hold. The whole slow galaxy turns gently on out there in the dark, the stars glowing quietly, the moons drifting softly, the far light easing patiently across the deep, and all of it goes on just fine without a single bit of help from you. You can let it all go now. You can let the day go, and the thoughts go, and the seeing go, and simply rest, held gently by the soft and patient quiet of the night. Breathe soft and slow, and let yourself sink the rest of the way down, easy and unhurried, into the deep and gentle dark. Rest now. Sleep well. Good night.